I just want to check for the chairs. So keep on doing that. And then keep on just wondering about my this the one with the shop.
Goedemorgen allemaal. Good morning everyone. I think that we can keep the house lights on for now, please. Baie welkom by vandag se Teksmark. Dit is die tweede dag. Gister was baie successful. Yesterday we had a successful day. But what I found was people were still a bit quiet. So I would like to invite you to really, don't be scared to join in the conversation. Dis presies hoekom hierdie wonderlike inisiatief in 2016 in die lewe geroep is deur die Goeie Hart, die artistieke direkteur van die KAK&K. Dis ook moontlik gemaak deur Nati, die Etienne Maree Fonds en natuurlik die Baxter. Julle kan vir hulle almal 'n handeklap gee. En ek herhaal myself miskien 'n klein bietjie, maar ek weet van julle sluit vandag dus by ons aan. But I find it fantastic that we can focus on the script writers a little bit. En om saam met hulle deur die ontwikkeling te gaan en so aan, is 'n voorreg. So gebruik dit. En moenie bang wees om moeilike vrae te vra of dom vrae wat nie eintlik bestaan nie. Want hier in hierdie kamer is daar geen heilige koeie nie. En ek is seker ons sal almal baie verheug en nog steeds as maats vanaand hier wegstaan. Geniet dit. Die eerste toneel, net vinnig vir die van julle wat nie gister was nie. Die beoordelaars, Sarah Botha, Jody Abrams, Ilse en Manny Manham, is ook hier. En dit is vir ons wonder dat hulle ook nou kommentaar lewer op die tekste. Julle kan ook onder mekaar praat. Dis hoekom ek eintlik wil ons net gou die ligte. Can we just take the stage lights off? Yeah, so like in a good church, have a look around you, say hello to the person next to you. En okay, thank you. En nou bekeer julle almal. Stop. Ja, so moet ook nie bang wees om vir mekaar nie gewoon vrae te vra of te direk na iemand toe nie. En dat iemand kan sê, toe on the spot, ek wil dit nie antwoord nie, dis ook okay. Ons eerste toneelstuk, of die reading, of hoe ek al ons dit hier noem, is Deur Darryl Nel. Dit is Found en hy het die spelleiding gedoen. Baie dankie.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. It's bright and early. So I'm Darryl, and just a big thank you to all the organisers of this event. It's a great opportunity for us to showcase and share our work, so I want to acknowledge that. Just to tell you a little bit about Found, it is a contemporary play, so it's set kind of in a post-COVID world. The setting is in a hospital, and in a private hospital where these two ladies are sharing a room. And the action takes place over a series of days as they slowly get to know each other and discover who they are and become a little bit more comfortable with each other so that they can kind of really be who they need to be. So that's the conceit of the piece. The whole play exists, it's been scribbled down, and my guess is it's about an 80-minute piece, but I guess when we give it full life, we'll know exactly what its true time is. The thing to say is that these two ladies who are there, the one has had surgery and she's waiting to be discharged, and the lady who joins her has some sort of ailment and they're trying to figure out what's wrong with her, and that's kind of the catalyst for them starting to figure out who's who. There are two other characters in the play. We don't see them today, but there is a nurse and one of the ladies, her son, is also a character in the piece. The play is informed by the really bizarre experiences that I think we had going through COVID. So that unapologetically is its context, but it does pursue ideas of living and losing and grieving in as real a way as possible. So that, I think, is what I can share with you. Hopefully the piece will say the rest. Thank you. I hope you appreciate and enjoy it.
Do you think they'll cut me if I'm proper sick?
That depends.
On what?
Lots of things, like, do they think they can fix you by cutting you open?
Well, I don't want them to cut me open. The only time they cut me was when Andre was born. You know, that's the only time I've ever had surgery.
Oh, my girl, I wouldn't worry about it, all right? Let me tell you something. This old body of mine is a discovery map marking out the teams of explorations of surgeons across this figure over decades of experimentation. We'll start with the latest, right? Gallbladder, gone. Can't see the scar, but it's under the plaster. Appendectomy when I was 9. Skin cancer cut out in my 50s. Inguinal hernia, but it was keyhole surgery, which is why I'm here today. Meniscus repair from a hockey injury. And the pièce de résistance, my hemorrhoidectomy. Would you like to see the scar? Are you sure?
Yeah.
Just a little peep?
No, Papa. I do not want to see your bum.
Seriously, Estelle, these people cut bodies open every single day. They know what they're doing. I wouldn't worry about it. Whatever happens, you'll be fine.
No, but what happens if it all goes wrong? If, God forbid, I die?
Seriously. Okay. It's normal to be nervous if you're having surgery, but you don't even know that that's what they're going to do. One step at a time, one day at a time. And if you do freak, I'm putting your shit on eBay. Now, are you sure you don't want to see my hemorrhoid hop? Apparently, my poo is a work of art. You okay?
Oh, shucks.
Huh?
Oh, flipping sore.
Are you all right?
Feels like I've got another attack coming on.
I'll get the nurse.
No. It's passing already. Ooh, sucks to be sick. Oh, flipping sore. Flipping heck.
I'm not taking any chances.
No. No, really, it's fine. I must have just turned funny, or maybe it's from all the laughing. Work of art. Now that will be something to see.
Estelle, do you ever swear?
What? Of course, I swear.
Really? I haven't heard you swear. You've just had like a heart attack and all you can say is flipping hick.
Well, that's not what I mean.
So what do you mean?
Well, it was sore. My brain thinks all the flip words and then I say the nice one. So
The nice one, flipping hick. So what do you actually mean?
Eh?
Tell me the bits your brain thinks before Estelle filters them out.
No.
Why?
Well, it's not ladylike.
What the fuck does that say about me? I'm not a lady.
No, it's just, you know, I was taught that girls don't swear, and so I don't.
That you think the words.
Well, of course.
Well then, now you're in the hospital, you're sick, you're in a fair amount of pain. I think that gives you some leeway, some permission to say the things you actually feel.
No,
Estelle, there's no one here except me, and I don't give a flying fuck about rude words. So why don't you just let yourself go, set yourself free?
well, it was sore. It was flippin' sore.
No, not flipping sore, fucking sore.
No, I can't.
Not your way. Whatever.
How come you don't care? You just say what you feel, what you mean. No filters. How do you do that? Are you on the spectrum or something? Have you got like Tourette's or something?
No, Estelle, I don't have shit, fuck, shit, fuck, Tourette's.
No, man, that's rude. See, that's what I mean. You just say what you like and behave like that.
Why not? Shit, fuck, shit.
That's not answering my question.
Maybe I don't want to answer your question.
I could never be like that. Just fluke and cuss and say whatever I like and act the way I want.
Oh, I think you could. I think it's all just tied up in there somehow. But if you think it and you feel it, then you mean it. So you should say it and do it.
Yes, but how do you get to be like that?
What, honest?
No, Mrs. Strydom, it's a lot more than honesty. It's the way you say it. It's so unchained.
Free. Maybe it's because I feel free.
Free from what?
I'm not in the mood for this now.
In the mood for what? Explaining to me why you feel the way you feel. Jeez. If I had that pleasure, I would tell anybody and everybody that asked.
You want me to tell you why I am the way I am?
Are you scared to tell me?
No.
Embarrassed?
No, it's none of your business.
No, man. You can't say that now. You're the one that asked me first. And now just because you're feeling a little bit embarrassed, you want to chicken out.
I definitely don't feel embarrassed.
Well, come on. I'm not going anywhere.
Okay. Truth is, I wasn't always this way. Just like you, I was taught how girls should speak, how girls should behave, what was appropriate and inappropriate. Every Sunday at church, volunteered at the library, even did some work at the SPCA, and I was happy. We were happy. Alan and me, picture, postcard, happy. We were high school sweethearts. Got married almost right after school. Couldn't refuse, he was such a catch. Yeah, my friends thought we were mad. My father was so angry. My mother thought I was pregnant, which I was not. Just completely, utterly in love, just completely in love. And we stayed that way for a long time, very long time. And even when the puppy love started to fade and we had to grow up and be adults with adult responsibilities, we stayed close. Just really good friends. And lovers. Oh. Alan was the only man who ever made love to me. We were meant to be together forever. That's what we thought. Then 3 years ago, everything changed. Alan got sick, COVID. No, we didn't call it that then, of course. But he was one of the first, and he got really sick. He had all the symptoms, cough, cold, fever, chills, body aches. He couldn't taste anything, couldn't smell anything, and he couldn't breathe. That was the worst of it. He couldn't breathe. No one knew what we were supposed to do about it. The news on TV from all over the world, it was terrifying. Like watching some sort of horror science fiction movie. Locked away in our houses, police and army on the streets. It was awful. They took him away in an ambulance, and I never saw him again. He's just gone. With me one day, gone the next, just gone. No last goodbye, no hugs, no kisses, no see you tomorrow. No funeral. Nothing, just nothing. Nothing. And things didn't magically get better after that either, because I was alone. I was stuck alone at home. Alan was gone, and I was like a prisoner in solitary confinement on death row. Death row. I mourned him for 2 years. Every single day, sat there weeping over our wedding pics and our holiday videos and our favorite TV shows, day after day after day. And then, on the morning of the 2nd anniversary of his death, I got out of bed. And I took off all my clothes and I went outside. I stood stark naked in the middle of our garden. I took a deep breath and I screamed and I shouted and I yelled every obscene curse word I could think of for 20 minutes straight into the heavens. Then I went inside and I took a shower and I started my new life. Just like that. Just reborn. No more crap. No more bullshit. Just fuck it. I'm so sorry for you, Papa. It's so sad. What a terrible thing to go through. Yes, it was sad. And I was sad. But then I had enough of being sad and miserable. You can't live like that. So then I decided to stop being sad. Take back my life and live the way I want to live. Say what I want to say. Do what I want to do. So you ask me why I am the way I am. That's why. Because the universe took a sucker punch at my heart and ripped it out and stomped on it, tore it to shreds, and then handed it back to me to deal with. So I did. I dealt with it. With one almighty fuck you to anyone who asks. Shoo. Shucks. Shit. Shut a brick. Shut a brick that was sore. Last night, I thought I was gonna die. Die. Bloody die. It was bloody flippin' Aina. Flippin' fucking Aina. Flippin' fucking Aina. Fucking shit Aina. Moeder Aina. Boesklap Aina. Moeder. Donderse. Fucking shit. Fuck, donderse, moeder, fucking it, fuck,
Cloete-Barrass and Annaline Stiglingh. Thank you so much. My first question sounds a bit banal, Darryl, or my comment, but after a performance like that, but it's scary to think it's been 3 years. And I think the timing is spot on, because we suddenly get confronted with something that we actually are either dismissing or over-dramatizing without hearing very important, intimate stories.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing. It's about these true stories that exist, and we shouldn't forget them. And actually, I'm sure Niqui won't mind me saying so. Niqui was playing Pippa. A lot of the inspiration for the story was Niqui's own terrible experience in hospital, going through what she describes. And that's the thing. I think that these stories they're in us, and we can't pretend that it didn't happen. It did, and we can't also pretend that we live with what we went through. So, yeah.
We're still sitting on your set. Let's just move it over here, but then they can take it off. And then that wonderful gem of being South African is die onwaarschijnlijke vrienden. You're in the same room and you would never expect that you're going to become friends. I read the script and I thought that was fantastic because it's not obviously different. But within an English South African given, it's just very much different personalities and ages.
Yeah, and I think because the way the play sets up, I mean, they're certainly not on friendly speaking terms at the start. Pippa wants nothing to do with Estelle when she comes in, and Estelle is just absolutely driven by being a nice, decent human being and doing what is always right and true to her as well. And Pippa's just so in the world of her own truth that she's just not interested in engaging in any way. So as the play moves on, we see those gaps, I guess, when they're able to just allow themselves to hear the other person. And I think that's what I'm trying to do in the play, is that they both hear each other and they take something from each other. It isn't just you need to, I'm the model of how you should be, or this is how you. It's not about that at all. It's about trying to find your own truth, I think. I hope that,
No, and then, could you just ask to take the stage lights off and house lights on? And then yesterday I also commented on a play that had a very distinct South African dialect. I know it happens often. I find myself in Afrikaans theatre more than in English theatre. But I love the dialogue. It's very current. Is it site-specific? How did you develop that?
Well, I'm from the Eastern Cape, and Niqui and you're both from the Eastern Cape as well. And those were the voices in my head when I wrote the thing, because that's the world of my experience. So.
Yeah, I once met a oom from the Eastern Cape, from East London, and he couldn't speak Afrikaans. His name is Louis J. van Wyk. And they call him Old Louis J. And when I visited there, he said, kom in my kind, that's what he can say. And then he says, I love Mandela. And you Afrikaners, you also love Mandela. So I like the fact that the Eastern Cape has that weird Afrikaans English thing going, but they can't really speak Afrikaans. But they sure as hell can say poes and vloek, it seems.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I mean, I think that's the thing is, it's about being, this is going to sound so cheesy, but I think it's about being South African. Like the work yesterday was about being from the Cape. And I think that the Eastern Cape is its own thing, and people have their own identity there. And I'm hoping that a piece like this helps celebrate that identity.
Was there any moment in the process where you thought, COVID fatigue, are the audience ready for this, are they over it? Or was it the fact that it's such a personal story?
I think it is because it is a personal story. Again, it's about telling Niqui's experience. I had been through a bereavement in our own family, so I think that was informing what was going to end up on the page. Yeah, it's like we said at the start. Even though 2019 seems a long time ago, I think we still carry a lot of that with us.
I found it feels more recent. So that's the weird thing about time at the moment, right? So when she said 3 years, you kind of go, yes, it feels like yesterday.
Yeah, absolutely. I think because we all lost that chunk of time and we haven't quite been able to fill it in. So this, is maybe trying to look at that too.
Just for technical purposes, because yesterday we ran into questions about that. So perhaps, Darryl, since you did the directing for the reading, what do you envisage for the play?
So, I mean, it's...
As a director.
Yeah, I mean, it's rooted in realism. So, I think the world that the space creates needs to convey that. It's a real energy, and ideally what the audience is seeing is something that is recognizable as well. So it is a hospital room, and it's got the equipment and the beeping monitors and all that, and that actually becomes a part of some of the atmosphere that the play creates. It also, we use that equipment to create humor in the play, hopefully. There's a scene where, the second scene where, because this is the third scene that you saw, where Pippa's trying to find her wedding ring. She's lost her wedding ring, and Estelle doesn't understand why, but she's on the floor and she's in pain. So Estelle gets on the floor as well, but she's attached to her monitors, and so there's all a bit of that sort of really wanting to help, but also the absurdity of their situation. Yeah.
Thank God for that, because otherwise it's quite harrowing. Warning. Are there any comments or questions?
Hi guys, well done all three of you on an amazing team effort, because those words in the wrong mouths will not come across like that. So well done to everyone. I want to commend you for being able to fictionalize something that's still so raw in all our experiences. I mean, you say 3 years, but it is like yesterday. It's like, how can you make a story out of it already? I can only do it when it's all over. But this is kind of near effected, it's all happening now. And what I like most about what you have presented is walking a very awesome tightrope between comedy and tragedy, and shifting the gears so effortlessly that you're still laughing and then you're crying and then you're laughing again. And that just in that little excerpt is very commendable. So, yes, I think that is because two people can become just talking heads, and they're not mobile. So it can very quickly become very tedious, but there's a vibrancy to your dialogue and to the honesty with which you present it. So I was very impressed because it's still very raw, and you manage to cut away all the fluff and actually elevate the mundane to the place of honor it actually deserves in this whole experience for all of us. So well done. That's what I wanted to say.
Thank you.
Here's another comment.
I'll just speak up. It's all good.
We're streaming. We're doing this professionally.
My apologies.
Darryl, thank you very much. Maybe sort of just to link to what the previous speaker said, I found that felt like a whole play to me. So I'm interested to know, in terms of structure, what have we missed, and how did you structure the play? And yes, if you could just explain a little bit how can you keep the audience's attention, because I really felt like we sort of went full circle in that 10 minutes.
So I don't know how much to say without giving out some big spoilers, but maybe that doesn't matter. We had that conversation happening here yesterday about spoilers. So there are 5 scenes to the play. Each one is a different episode, really, because it's a different. the first day is them getting to know each other, and there's absolutely no dialogue really between them. It's just Estelle speaking at Pippa, and Pippa basically just ignoring her and telling her to fuck off. So it's that sort of energy. And this we have another character who comes in also as a kind of to allow us to laugh because of the tension in the play, which is Estelle's son, who is a drag artist. So one of the themes of the play that we didn't look at all here is about her journey as a single mother, managing just sort of intolerance, basically. And then her son Andre arrives, and he works at a club, and he comes in dressed as one of the village people, and so you have sort of the tension of the play, and then he comes in, and the audience is allowed to laugh. But what we see, I think, from that character is this really beautiful relationship with his mother. So that happens, and her sort of drive and her narrative is about if she dies, what's going to happen to her son. So yeah, the second scene is about the wedding, trying to find the wedding ring, and understanding that Pippa has a story. The third scene is hearing more about her story. The fourth scene we hear about Estelle's story and how she ended up the way she ended up. And then the final scene only has 3 characters.
Yeah.
And they all die.
I think as soon as I see a play that's got a COVID theme to it, I go, oh God, and we all want to kind of, because you want to, I don't know, forget it, it happened at all, we're in denial about it, but I think it's extremely important because, and what I just realized now again, is just the trauma that we're still living from what happened in different ways. People dying in our lives, and also just what the impact was of COVID on, financially on people, etc., etc., etc. So I do find the way that you, I wanted to say, attack but how you approach the theme is incredibly important. And I read the play, the work you said in, and I think it is well structured, I really hope this play will happen. I think it's really good.
Yes. Also the grief. We haven't spoken about grief yet. So thank you everyone. Thank you, Darryl. Is there something you'd like to add?
Just thank you very much. Thanks for the support.
Thank you.
And thank you for the experience.
Hello.
Je gooit mij nou inderdaad op stream. So ek moet nou comedy doen. Ja, ek daar, gelukkig. Dis Gideon Lombard. Hy is die regisseur of die spelleier van Moedswil en muitery wat geskryf is deur Ingrid Winterbach. Baie welkom aan hulle. Kan ons asseblief die verhoogligte aankry en die auditoriumligte af? Goed, dankie nou. Dis vir foto's.
Okay.
Wil jy, Ingrid, wil jy die intro doen? Gaan jy dit doen, Gideon?
Ek dink, Ingrid, as jy okay is daarmee, kom ons doen die stuk wat hy vir homself praat en dan kan ons na die tyd dit, tensy jy iets wil sê, Ingrid? Nee, dit is fine. Is it? Okay, lekker. Okay, julle, lovely. And now for something completely different.
Is dit weer 'n stel?
Ja.
Goed, so dis dan klaar, so ek kan ook gaan.
Ja, jy kan gaan.
Dan terug.
Ja, dan gaan ander mense hier op die saal hê. Die stem is hier. Okay. Kan we gou 'n minuut? Lekker julle. Dankie.
Die mense by die huis, Gideon is besig om na agter te loop en hy sal nou met ons wees.
Ons moet die heer Blessing vermaak. Ons verwelkom hom graag. Hy was tot nou ongesteld in sy kuierheid.
Aangenaam. Vermaak met 'n F. Die see was rof.
Die heer Blessing vermaak 'n reis saam met ons tot in die Kaap. Hy het familie daar.
In die Kaap? Ek dacht daar staan niks, net barbare.
Nee mevrou. Binneland gaan daar reeds heel wat aan. 'n Florerende nedersetting van skiprekelinge. Lede van my familie het 'n dekade gelede met die skip die Goue Horing uitgespoel. Hulle bedryf nou 'n spar in die binneland.
Waar in die binneland?
Burgersfort of dorp of hoop, ek kan tog nie onthou nie.
Dis vreemd. Ek het gedink ons gaan die eerste Christene wees wat daar voet aan wal sit.
Nee mevrou. Die plek beemel van die Christene. Goeies, loubarenes, afvalliges en alles tussenin.
Vreemd. Wat dink jy van JR?
Geweldig! Ek hoop van harte die reis sal u van die afgeval. Mens, wat was as 'n top, Nelly?
Verseker. Nou dat ek liggaamlik weer 100% is ek hier in 'n afwagting. Ek verneem van die man, ons is reeds besig om verby die groot woestyn te seil en binnekort om die groot agterkop van Wes-Afrika te vaar.
Inderdaad, geweldig.
Sou 'n mens die land in enige stadium kan sien. Ek dink byvoorbeeld aan die Kongo. Daardie plek van geheimenis en sluimer vandaan.
Nee, helaas nie. Indien nodig sal ons by Sao Tome en Wal gaan vir varsvoorrade. Die donker kontinent self sal ons nie betree nie.
Hoe geval die reis u tot dusver, mevrou?
Dit daar raak soms 'n bietjie eentonig.
Ag nee, dit hoor ek graag nie. 'n Vervreemde vrou soos u verwyl seker die ure met leeswerk, kunsmaakwerk, musiek. Speel jy vir my?
Nee, ek speel solitaire en doen soms 'n bietjie batiekwerk.
Pragtig. En waar het u die kuns geleer?
By 'n dame uit Indonesië in Amsterdam, 2 keer per week. Hier is ons assistent met die kos.
Smaak met die ete!
JR,
Wat gaan we toe iets besig?
wat weet jy van die Blessings vermaak, kerel?
Adelstand, wel af, uiters gekultiveer.
En wat maak jy van wat hy sê?
Waaroor?
Oor al die aktiwiteit in die binneland. Sy familie wat 'n spar daar bedryf.
My vrou, ek gaan my nie van allerlei lospraatjies van koers laat bring nie. Ek het 'n taak, ek het 'n opdrag en ek gaan dit na die beste van my vermoë uitvoer.
Sê nou, hulle draai jou 'n rad voor die oë. Jy's te goedgelowig. Jy laat jou te maklik rondorder en voorskryf deur die agente.
Hulle is eerbaar. Hulle het 'n duidelike opdrag gegee, vestig 'n verversingsstasie in die Kaap. Plant groente en graan, lê vrugteborde aan. Vestig in die proses die beskawing daar.
Maar dit lyk asof daar dan nou reeds 'n soort beskawing in die binneland gevestig is.
Die binneland is die binneland. Kan my nie met hulle probleme bemoei nie. My opdrag is vir my gegee en daar bly ek my toe.
Nee, ek vertrou jou opdraggewers nie. Daardie agente is 'n klomp uitgeslaapte jakkalse. Dit gaan vir hulle net om hulle eie gewin. Moenie dink jy is vir hulle belangrik nie. Jy's net 'n pion in 'n baie groter skaakspel.
Dis nie net waarom ek
Wat sê jy?
Miss Maria, Kan jy my nie net 'n bietjie krediet gee nie? Vertrou hierdie sending. Ons maak van die Kaap 'n lus of ons bring die woord Gods aan die heidene daar. Ons plant druiwe, graan en vrugte.
Ek vertrou die agente nie. En ek is nie so seker of God se woord aan die heidene 'n goeie idee is nie. Ek is bang vir wat ons daar gaan aantref.
Maar ja, ons sending en verblyf sal voorspoedig wees. Ons opdrag is ons borswering. Die geloof is ons bewapen.
Jy miskien. Ek voel my deur niks bewapen nie. Eerder jammerlik ontwapen.
Meneer Clyde,
Ja. Wat kan ek gou?
die skeepskop môre, meneer.
Ons is skaars weg in hulle môre al.
Waarom môre dan?
Hulle sê die kos is sleg, meneer. Die pap het te min sout en die vark het te veel sout.
Hulle het 'n punt, weet.
Sê ek sal die kop hieroor aanspreek.
Ek maak so, meneer Clyde.
By pop en Niqui. En die roosknoop. Kyk net die nag. Kyk nou die flonkering van fosfor op die see. Kyk net hoe weerkaats die bane van die sterre op die water. Dit sou wonderskoon moes wees. Waarom is dit nie? Eintlik sou ek hierdie reis onbevange wil geniet. Ek sou net wat dink aan die stand van die sterre en die wetenskap. Snags met jou op die dek wandel. En elke nag in jou arms lê. Dit kan nie. Ek het donker voorgevoelens. Kyk daar so. Vreemde wolkformasie wat die maan verhul. Ongewone stilte. Asof die nag asem ophaal. Ek hoor kraai en krans. Op die opsee. Ek het nie 'n goeie gevoel vir hierdie sending nie. Ek moes myself hiervoor ingelaat het nie. Wat traak het my of ons 'n verversingsstasie in die Kaap of wie weet waar vestig. Of dan die matrose mor. Laat hulle mor! Of dat hulle vermyd. Hoe gouer, hoe beter.
Ek het 'n vermoede van iets baie kwaadwilligers as morrende matrose.
Ek weet. Ek kan nie voorgee dat die sending vir my 'n hart en geloofsaak is nie. Nie meer die vertroue dat ons die beskawing in die suidpunt van Afrika gaan vestig nie.
Oral sien ek portente en tekens, oordag en snags. Onheilstekens, wat hy op 'n rampspoedige afloop.
Dit was 'n fout. Dis my nooit die agente laat oorreed het nie. Deur hulle beloftes van finansiële sukses en 'n gerieflike aftrede. Ek weet hulle is uitbuiters. Maria is reg. Ek weet dit al lank. Ek wil dit nie toegee nie.
Dit is nou te laat. Daar is nie meer sprake van omdraai nie.
Goed nee.
As dit jy is, JR, gaan weg, ek is moeg.
Dit is nie JR nie, dis ek.
Wie is jy?
Die heer Blissing vermaak.
Ek weet daarom nie.
Marie, los nou die vals skroomvalligheid en maak op die deur. Kom sit hier langs my.
Nee.
Los nou jou nonsens en kom sit hier. Ek het jou goed deurgekyk. Jy's aanvallig. Jy's 'n vrou wat weet wat sy wil hê. Jy's rusteloos. Jy's al reeds goed uitgekyk op hierdie reis. Noem my sommer Beef.
Beef?
Ja, Beef.
Okay.
Vertel my meer van jouself. Ek wil jou graag beter leer ken.
Daar's niks om te vertel nie.
Dit kan nie wees nie. 'n Aanvallige vrou soos jy moes 'n opwindende lewe gehad het tot dusver.
Wel, ek het nie. Te vroeg getrou, bovendien met die verkeerde man.
Wat jammer. Vertel.
In elk geval moes ek nooit op hierdie reis saamgekom het nie. Anyway, dis nou te laat vir trane.
Dis nooit te laat vir enigiets nie.
JR sê jy's van die adelstand. Wel af, gekultiveer.
As hy so sê, dan moet dit seker so wees.
Wat bedoel jy?
Van adelstand wel. My jeug in koue kastele deurgebring. Op jagtogte na hert en wilde vark. Danspartye, groot balsale. Van die geld is ek nie so seker nie.
Dan is ons in dieselfde boot.
Dit is ons, letterlik en figuurlik. Hoe dan ook, jy's verveeld. Jy's lus vir 'n bietjie opwinding. Ek kan dit verskaf. Al af jou klaag. Ontbloot jou nek.
Maria, alles reg? Het jy gedroom?
Ja, dis niks, JR. Ek het gedroom. Dis precies, man. Is jy nou 'n vampier of wat?
Daar's niks aan nie, enige iemand kan dit doen.
En die bloed?
Dit kom saam met die tande. Oulik, nee, ek het op 'n mark in Amsterdam gekoop.
Ek wil ook zoiets hê.
Dit 'n ekstra stelletjie. Maar dit sal jy eers moet verdien.
Muitery en Moedswil deur Ingrid Winterbach. Moedswil en Muitery deur Ingrid Winterbach onder leiding van Gideon Lombard met Wessel, Pretorius, en Gideon Nel. Wonderlik, geef hulle nog 'n hande klap. Gideon, wil jy ons aansluit? Wonderlik. So ons geskiedenis om dit te reduseer tot die verskriklike absurditeit van 'n verhouding met 'n opblaaspop. Dis min of meer wat dit is, nee.
Ja, die idee was eintlik 'n opgestopte pop, om het meer die gevoel te gee. Miskien moet ek net so 'n bietjie agtergrond gee. Ek het verlede jaar vir lid net stemme, het ek 'n seereis geskryf. En dit was baie ernstig, en toe het ek gedink, ag nee, dis nog ernstig. Maar die idee van die sekspoppe, dit kom al 'n hele eind. Dit kom al uit my laaste roman. En dit is die Japaneese, die Nederlanders, omdat die Nederlandse matrose, omdat dit so 'n lange reis is, het vir hulle poppe, opgestopte poppe, saamgeneem. En die Japanners het hulle na hulle verwys in die 17de eeu as Dutch wives. En hulle is dan verkoop aan die Japaneese ook. So dit moet eintlik maar goed. Dus kyk maar ek het eintlik gedink aan 'n vollengte pop, mooi opgestop, maar miskien is hierdie makliker. Kyk maar, goed. Soos jy seker kan aflei, is dit losweg gebaseer op Jan van der Week en hy staan meer bekend as JR en Maria en dan die Plus en Vermaak. En hulle is ook onderweg na die Kaap, na Holwegstasie. En dan is daar 'n verstekeling, die Plus en Vermaak aan boord en hy op die skip Kaap vir sy eie gewin. Hy wil in die Kongo wees en hy wil daar begin met slawe onderaan, met slawe, 'n slawehandel begin. En hy wil Maria as 'n bondgenoot werk. Ja, hy wil Maria as 'n bondgenoot werk. So dit is 4 spelers, daar's 'n assistent ook. Die verhoog is baie eenvoudig. Basies 2, soos mens hier kon sien, dis 2 ruimtes wat met 'n werklike of 'n afskorting met 'n werklike of verbeelde afskorting geskei word en dan heel voor gaan van die ander aktiwiteite plaasvind. Ja, dit is eintlik, ek wou dit is met ander woorde 'n nuwe spin gee op 'n ou geskiedenis. Maar dit is natuurlik fantasties, want nou is dit nie meer myne nie. En dit is so amazing om dit net uit my hande te hê en te sien dit word iets heeltemal anders. So dit is baie opwindend. Dankie vir die geleentheid.
Ek is mal oor die absurditeit in al jou werk en maar wat ek veral van in die teks gehou het, of jy hou daarvan in al jou werk om of ek lees dit raak. Ek weet nie of jy sê wat jy nee. Is die lysies van plante of van mikroorganismes of wat ook al en daar kom astronomie in hierdie toneelstuk voor en daar word uiteindelik kommentaar by opgelewer, maar nou vir die eerste keer het jy 'n lys van al die stamme se name maar die Christene dan nou sukkel om uit te spreek.
Wel, en ook die ding is natuurlik dat is moeilik om te onthou, né? En van die BJ probeer om voorberei as hy daar kom. Maar hy is eintlik iemand wat gespeel is. Hy is iemand wat eintlik hy is van 'n boes. En hy wil eintlik hy is geïnteresseerd in die wetenskap. En hy bedink homself, hoekom het hy dit gedoen? Maria is baie meer ook vir enigiets.
En net dan op Maria, blissingsvermaak, die naam en hoekom dan beef, is dit die BF?
Wel, dit is interessant, ek het gedink dis beef, maar beef dink ek klink eerder. Dit is meer, ja.
Dis beef, julle.
Maar ek vind toch dat die beef miskien, nou, ek dink dit ook sy eie resonantie.
En blissingsvermaak?
Dit is maar net iets om voor te gee dat hy van die adel is. Ja.
Dit is iets.
Vermaak met 'n F.
Ja.
Vir BF. En Gideon, jy, dis natuurlik wonderlik om so 'n teks te kry.
Ja, dit is fantasties gewees om net met iets te kan speel en regtig waar die absurditeit alles teen die muur te gooi en kyk wat plak en natuurlik, jy weet, met Teksmark, die doel is eintlik om die woorde hardop te hoor en om dan die begin van 'n tipe hoe sal mense sê 'n vehicle, ekskuus die Afrikaans ontsnap my nou, maar om iets te vind wat 'n styl kan begin verteenwoordig en so. So dit is maar eintlik net 'n aanvanklike krag, jy weet. Ek dink natuurlik as mense sulke wonderlike spelers het, kom hulle met allerlei idees, al met die pop. So ja, dit word ook sy eie ding. Maar ja, ek dink daar is iets wat vir my interessant is hoe mense omgaan met geskiedenis. Jy weet, as ek kyk na Inglorious Bastards, daar was so 'n vryheid om te gaan, okay, ons weet wat hierdie geskiedenis is en dit is verskriklik ernstig en daar's moeilike gevolge en ons is nou op 'n stadium waar ons dit regtig maar begin ontpak, jy weet, of uitpak. Maar terselfdertyd dan is om die vryheid te hê om te gaan, okay, maar in al hierdie absurde, want dit is in die realiteit 'n absurde ding vir my gewees. Ek gaan op 'n skip klim en na 'n ander land toe gaan en 'n vlag daar plak en dit, jy weet, dit in en of itself is 'n hele absurde taak. So om dit te vat en te gaan, okay, wel, kom ons kyk na hierdie feite, twist dit 'n bietjie, soos dit 'n bietjie. Dit gee vir mense, of vir my ten minste, 'n ander ingangspunt na iets wat ek nog nie heeltemal verstaan nie. So deur die humor, deur die vryheid van humor, slag mense 'n bietjie die heilige koeie en kan jy oor goed praat wat jy nie in ander milieu kan ondersoek nie.
Nee, ek hoor jou, maar so wonderlike ding van mense wat amper sê, jy realiseer die geskiedenis, almal sê dit moes deesdae, en dan wil jy eintlik wat sê, maar dit was die geskiedenis, nee. Selfs die plastiek vampiertande, dis deel van ons geskiedenis. Enige vrae gehoor?
Ek sal ook net nou net die epiloog lees, as ek mag. Ja. Of sal ek dit gou lees?
Dis 'n baie goeie idee.
Ja, so die epiloog, en ek dink dit was by die sleutel ook. Die epiloog lees so. Waaroor het dit gegaan? Was dit entertainment met die doel om te verlekker en te onderrig? Of 'n dooddolly plesierige gekarjakker? Of 'n feministiese pleispel met 'n lesie aan die einde? Of 'n gedramatiseerde traktaatjie teen slawerny? Wat is die waarde van so iets verfrietens? Van so nog vis, nog vlees aanbod? Nie behoorlik deurgedink, nagevors nie, nie vlak genoeg nie, nie diep genoeg nie, nie gewigtig of snaaks genoeg nie, moeilik om te sê. Goeienaand en welteruste.
Ingrid, dit is so lekker om te sien, ek wil as ons dink, ek het net om gehou te sê dat Ingrid was by 'n klassieke musiekfees wat ons in Uittreksel hou, en sy het daar so oor haar man gepraat, et en ek het toevallig gesê, maar Ingrid, wanneer doen jy weer deadlines vir nuwe ene, en so, en kom deadlines, en sy is nog weg, en ek dink, Ingrid was dit 'n maand later omtrent, ek weet nie, dit was baie vinnig geweest, wat daar, wat jy idee het, en skielik is daar iets in my inbox, wat altyd baie lekker is met jou. As die idee jou aanval, dan gebeur dit, onmiddellik. En, ja, so ek is baie bly om te sien, dat ons jy weet dat dit nou hier is, en dit is so lekker dat jy, om jou skryf wat jou woorde op die verhoog te sien, want dit is so besonder en uitsonderlik. En ek is persoonlik opgewonde oor die satire en om anders te kyk na die geskiedenis wat ons voel, ons al oor en oor gehoor het. En wat op soveel maniere opgedis is, maar nog nie op hierdie manier nie. En dat ons eintlik net almal na ons geskiedenis kan kyk en 100% we can take the Niqui out of it and we can laugh about it, but also obviously within that think a little bit more and learn a little bit more. So baie dankie. Kom net sê, ek dink daar's 'n wonderlike kombinasie hierso, en ek is baie opgewonde om te sien hoe jong mense dit kan vat.
Dankie. Maar net dankie sê.
Sal ek dit vra?
Dit is wonderlik. Het is wonderlik om ook die registers van taal te sien en hoe goed jy dialoog hanteer. En dat wanneer daar dan amper 'n posttraumatiese monoloogvertelling is, dat dit heeltemal in 'n ander register gaan. Dit is wonderlik. Ons sien so min tekste met literêre meriete. Ons is so gefokus op vloegmatigheid, dat ek regtig dink ons ondergrawe ons eie longevity by gebrek aan 'n beter woord, omdat ons so in die oomblik is. Ek wil baie graag weet, kom hulle aan in die Kaap of nie?
As jy moet raai, wat dink jy?
Maar dit is natuurlik wonderlik om te dink wat gaan gebeur as hulle nie daar aankom nie. Maar sê maar dit is baie gestel. Miskien is dit reeks 2 of episode 2. Maar dit is my ook interessant, en as ek daar ophou, dit is my ook interessant dat ons baie, of heel wat stukke het van jaar, wat gaan oor 'n blend van 'n geskiedenis en herkoms en plek. Dit is waarmee ons worstel met plek en waar ons vandaan kom. As jy dit al verlede jaar begin skryf het, is jy nou maar net voor dat almal anders eers nou geskryf, of wat dink jy is waaroor behoort skrywers nou te skryf? Ek dink die skrywers behoort vir enigiets te skryf. Maar ek dink dat skrywers wel iets van die tydgees optel. Maar ek is die laaste een wat gaan sê, jy behoort hieroor of daaroor te skryf. Jy moet skryf wat jy moet skryf wat jou aanspreek, waarin jy geïnteresseerd is. Maar die lig is natuurlik soos vleermuise vol van allerlei dinge. En dan gryp jy maar so na iets.
Dankie Sakie. Ek wil eintlik aansluit by wat Sakie nou gevra het en ek weet nie of dit eties reg is om dit te doen nie. Ek wil net 'n ander stukkie uit die teks uithaal, want ek wil weet wat Sakie, ons betree 'n nuwe tyd waar ons met onsself kan spot en waar mense tot onlangs toe nog te bang was vir wat die gevolge gaan wees. So, ek weet nie of een van julle dit wil lees nie, dis maar net daai stukkie van die naam, moet ek dit maar gaan lees. Bobbejaantjie, broodboom, daisy, euphorbia, Erika, kameeldoorn, krimetart, silverboom, slangbos, stinkhout, geelhout, sierkaree, watsonia, o.l.v, wilde amandel, valbos, vygie. Serikant, nee wag, dis 'n vis. Nee, Here, die lys is eindeloos. Ek gaan nooit alles onthou nie. Dis nou JR wat ek sal voorberei. Naboom, koorsboom, tamboti. Dan staan nog die name van die stamme. Hoe gaan ek alles allemaal van mekaar onderskei? Met naamlewering en lekker kommentaar. Ek is seker as jy gesien het, ek is seker as jy een gesien het jy almal gesien. Die Gorikwa, die Esekwa. Waar kom hierdie mense aan hierdie name? Hoe moet 'n Christen mens dit onthou? Die Bossiesmanne, die Abakweta, die woorde, Gorrag, Nara, Gai, Gods. Nou, dit was tot onlangs toe nogal sensitief vir mense, om hierdie soort van humor, wat betref die kooi geskiedenis, dis baie maklik om altyd met die Afrikaner te spot. Maar dit is om by Sakie aan te sluit, is die tyd ryp, is dit wat ons nou nodig het, en hoe bepaal ons dit?
Ek dink nie dat dit 'n spot is nie. Ek dink dit is 'n celebration van die taal, die woorde, en met wie gespot word, is met JR en met die assistent, wat dan sê, wat sê die assistent? Hy sê, ag, solang jy nie tomatie word ook ken.
Ja.
So dit is, ek dink nie, dit is 'n spot met.
Nee, ek stem saam met jou,
Ja.
maar ek dink dit is hoog tyd dat ons, dat het genoem word, en soos jy sê, gevier word.
Ja.
Maar ek moet bieg, mens was 'n bietjie bang. Nie hy nie.
Ek dink, ja, ek stem saam, vir my is dit ook 'n viering van die veelsidigheid van die taal en die land en die uiteenlopendheid dat alles hier saam kan bestaan. En dit is vir my die wonderlike en die uitdaging van waar ons is, waar die geskiedenis is. Maar ek dink, soos in die epiloog, hierdie lê eintlik in die spasies tussen die goed, in die grys. En ek dink, vir my is dit wonderlik, want ek dink die vrees om oor hierdie te praat is enorm. Ek ervaar dit, jy weet, ek gaan goodness, hoe gaan ek nou hierdie, as ek moet verduidelik, okay, kolonialisme en ek is 'n wit man en ek is Afrikaans en ek is op strydpunt en jy weet, like it's a lot of, maar ek dink wat vir my wonderlik is van hierdie is, ons moet probeer om dit te doen, eerder as nie. Jy weet, ek dink, dit is vir my die prodding van hierdie is, om te gaan, okay, waar is hierdie gesprek op die oomblik? Dit sê nie presies waar dit is, of waar dit moet wees, of wat het al nie. Maar dit is maar my persoonlike ervaring met dit. Jy weet, ek voel dit gee, ja, soos wat ek sê, 'n container vir 'n gesprek wat ons moet aanhou probeer voer eerder as nie.
Ek is nou bang ek spreek dit verkeerd uit, nee? Liesel.
soos aan. Kabous, ek dink hoe ek dit lees is dat daar gespot word met die koloniale blik. En daar's vir my baie ruimte vir dit. Dit is eintlik al wat ek wil sê. Ek dink soseer dit wat waargeneem of dit wat bestaan in Suid-Afrika verskeidenheid, maar ek dink daar's ook baie ruimte om nog steeds die soos hulle dit noem, the zero point of coloniality, dat dit is die norm, dis waar ons weer te bespot. En dit is wat ek hoor wat Ingrid dan met teks doen.
Nou, ek is baie bly dat jy dit so sê, want ek kan sien dat dit so is, want dit is agterna wat ek dit so kan sien. Ek sou dit nie self kon verwoord nie, hoekom ek dit gedoen het nie. Ek was te veel in die proses self. Maar ja, natuurlijk, dit word daar gespot met die kolonialiste. Ja, nee, dankie. Maar dan moet mens eintlik wat Fanny nou die dag genoem het, reverse engineering, as jy moet terugkyk en kyk, hoekom het jy dit so gedoen? Jy weet dit was nie.
Sjoe, julle, ek het nie gedink ons spot nie met die kolonialiste nie. As ek baie eerlik moet wees, selfs die ironie in die teks en die verwysing na stamme en so aan, sou 'n paar jaar gelede 'n probleem gewees het, ongeag waar die spottery trek. En dit is maar die tipe gesprek wat ek wou oopmaak en sê, ek dink dit is fantasties dat daar nou, dat het, miskien word dit nou as 'n viering gesien. En ek dink dit is fantasties, ja. Goed. Klaar, okay. Baie dankie Ingrid en Gideon. Is daar nog iemand? Ekskuus hier. Goed. Dankie Ingrid en Gideon, ons sien baie uit. Baie dankie. Julle kan gerus 'n 5 minute breek vat. 5:10. Kort breek, kom en sê, julle sal sien my deur moet terugkom. Dankie. Almal in. Die volgende toneelstuk of reading is Martha deur Albert Maritz en Ilse van Niekerk en is onder leiding van Albert Maritz. Baie dankie.
Hallo, ek gaan net vir julle kortliks iets vertel. Dankie. Die inspirasie vir die toneelstuk is die lewe en die tragiese moord op Winnie Rust. Geweld teenoor vroue gebeur reg oor ons land en dis dan die sentrale tema van hierdie toneelstuk. Winnie Rust was 'n liewe vrou wat gewoon het in Wellington, getroud met Mani en sy het uit haar pad uitgegaan om ander mense te help. Sy het ook 'n hele paar boeke geskryf, onder andere 'n verhaal oor haar vriendin Lisbie Smuts-Smith, wat in 2005 vermoor is ook op Wellington. Lisbie se buurvrou het gehoor wat gebeur het by Lisbie terwyl dit aan gang was en oorgehardloop om te gaan help en is self toe ook 17 keer met 'n skroewedraaier gesteek. Die buurvrou het 'n skildery vir Winnie geskilder wat in haar huis hang en na Winnie se dood is haar liggaam onder hierdie skildery gevind. Mens kry dikwels koue rillings as jy die storie lees wat Winnie oor Lisbie geskryf het, want dit klink amper asof sy oor haar eie dood praat. En baie van die Winnie se dialoog in die toneelstuk kom ook woord vir woord uit haar eie boeke uit. Byvoorbeeld, ons lot is tog verweef met die van die mense rondom ons, weefdrade van verskillende kleure. Vernietig jy 'n enkele draad, verbrokkel die lag. So Winnie se storie is dan ons eerste storielyn en die tweede storielyn handel oor die lewe van Martha, oor wie Winnie Rust 'n boek geskryf het, gebaseer op Martha se lewe. En Martha het ook 100 jaar voor Winnie op Wellington gebly. Ons doen vir julle vandag 7 verkorte toneeltjies uit die toneelstuk. Ons begin met 'n toneel tussen Martha en Harry, 'n Britse priester. Kort na hulle mekaar ontmoet het, naby 'n kiep waar hulle op die myne gewerk het. Hulle raak gou verlief op mekaar, maar Harry het 'n hartseer verhaal. Hy is 'n Britse priester, maar as gevolg van sy drankmisbruik en sy swakheid vir vroue, het hy te veel skande gebring oor sy aristokratiese familie in Engeland. En hulle het besluit dat hy Kaapkolonie toe gestuur moes word. Hulle sou vir hom 'n klein bedragie elke maand stuur waarvan hy kon lewe, 'n remittance. En enige iets, solank hy net nie terugkom Engeland toe om hulle naam verder te beswaarder nie. Die temas hier is drankmisbruik, diskriminasie op grond van ras, klas en geslag en hoe mense probeer om ander mense se stemme stil te maak. Die tweede toneel is tussen Winnie en Nigel. Winnie se dogter se huishulp se seun is Nigel. En Winnie het hom onder haar vlerk geneem sodat hy op skool sy beste kon doen en kon uitblink in sy atletiekloopbaan. Op 11 Mei 2016 word Winnie vermoor in haar huis terwyl haar man Mani 'n middagslaapie neem. En kort daarna word Nigel en sy oom skuldig bevind aan die moord. Die derde toneel is tussen Winnie en haar man Mani, waar hulle stry oor geweldsmisdaad na Lesbie se dood. So dood laat vrae ontstaan, byvoorbeeld hoekom gebeur dit? Wat is die oorsake vir geweldsmisdaad? En is die oorsaak in Suid-Afrika anders as in ander lande? Daarom is dit belangrik dat die teks opgevoer moet word. Mense moet oor hierdie vrae praat, dink en worstel. En in Winnie se boeke het sy ook op heelwat van hierdie kwessies self ingegaan. In die vierde toneel is ons terug in die 1800s met 'n toneel tussen Harry en Martha se ma Rebecca. Rebecca is 'n vrygestelde slaaf en sy het haar lyf verkoop sodat Martha geleerdheid kon hê en sodat sy 'n vry mens kon wees. Sy ken die klampe van gevangenskap maar te goed en het haar lewe lank beklei om dit af te skud. Sy duld ook nie as mense haar manier van lewe probeer veroordeel nie. Die volgende toneel is 'n paar maande later. Martha gaan bly by Apollos. Hy is die seun van haar pa se vriend. Die pa en die vriend het 'n huis saamgebou op Wellington. En Martha het 'n dak oor haar kop nodig en gaan bly dan daar, maar hier loop dinge erg skeef. Gelukkig besluit Harry om van 'n Cape af Wellington te kom, want hy mis Martha maar net veel. Die temas hier is hoe kinders met geweld groot raak, hoe gebrek aan geleenthede selfbeeld kan afbreek, drankmisbruik en weer eens geweld teenoor vroue. Die storie loop dan ook 'n paar draaie. Martha staan by Harry deur dik en dun, behalwe vir keer of wat sy drankmisbruik vir haar net te erg raak. En dan kom maar wonderlike nuus uit Engeland. Die 7de baron van Stanford is oorlede sonder enige afstammelinge. En Harry, die skande van die familie, word dan die 8ste baron van Stanford. En dit maak dan van Martha 'n slaafse kind, 'n barones van Stanford. Daar's 'n koerantberig op die 7de Mei 1892 gepubliseer waar hulle bespiegel wat die koningin nou te doen sou staan as Martha ooit Engeland toe sou kom. Want dit was die gebruik dat die koningin die nuwe barones op haar wang sou soen. En hoe nou gemaak met, soos die koerant vir Martha noem, the Hottentot Countess. Saam met haar titel het sy ook geld gekry en het meeste daarvan gebruik om die gemeenskap te bevorder en ook om 'n skool in Wynberg te stig. Die 6de toneel is Harry op sy sterfbed jare later en ons sien sy onvoorwaardelike liefde vir Martha. In die laaste toneel praat Winnie oor die dag van haar moord. So die teks verweef dan die verhale van die twee vroue. Vir albei was geleerdheid en onbaatsigtelikheid baie belangrik. Daar was pogings om albei se stemme stil te maak, maar stemme klink steeds glashelder. En met die toneelstuk sal ons dan ook verseker dat die stemme en die storie voortleef. Die kyk en gehoor is enige iemand oor die ouderdom van 14. Daar is 'n paar gewelddadige oomblikke wat 'n jonger kyker kan ontstel. Die styl is voorspellende teater, gebaseer op realisme. Ons het al reeds 'n volle eerste weergawe geskryf, is 60 minute lank, 17 karakters wat deur 4 of 5 akteurs vertolk word. Wanneer 'n akteur van een karakter na 'n ander oorslaan, trek hulle 'n kenmerkende kledingstuk aan wat hang op die kapstok, sodat die gehoor altyd weet watter karakter op die verhoog is. Die styl is minimalisties, net 'n paar nodige meubelstukke, daar's geen spesiale tegniese uitdagings nie. Daar kan van subtitles gebruik gemaak word om die datum en 'n plek van die toneel aan te dui. Ons beplan om die linkerkant van die verhoog te gebruik, meestal vir tonele uit die 1800s, Martha, Rebecca, Harry en Apollos. En aan die regterkant van die verhoog vir tonele 2015 tot 2016, so Winnie, Mani en Nigel. Ons gaan natuurlik nou nie vandag se titels gebruik nie en ons gaan ook nie die verhoog verdeel nie. As daar tyd is, gaan ons afsluit met die gedig van die eeu, een dag van morgen. Dit is 'n gedig geskryf deur Hans Andreas en dit is vertaal in Afrikaans deur Winnie Rust. Die gedig het ook op haar begrafnisblaadjie verskyn en dit is ook die slottoneel van die toneelstuk. Dankie.
Martha, I come by order of the Queen. I've had these for you. I can pay with these.
Is jy hier besigheid?
Oh, no, it's just until I get calls from England and I can pay with real money.
Engelsman, vir wie wil jy koop? Vir my of vir my ma?
Oh, just for you.
Kom. Moenie dink jy gaan nie by my Uittreksel kom uitdal nie. Ek ken mansmense en hulle is Uittreksel.
Meet Harry Gray, son of Harry Gray, vicar of Knutsford and graduate of Oxford University. Meet Harry Gray, nephew of the 6th Earl of Stanford and royal descendant of Lady Jane Grey.
Sien jy daai jas vandag?
Ja.
Daai is my ma Rebecca se jas. En sy is die queen van Annaline. En nou moet jy jou ry kry want hierdie is anders sy. Kom.
Anna was married to the ring.
Kom by.
Was never here. Anna.
Hy is net so gek soos my ma. Soos hulle twee aangaan as ek sê een van hierdie mooi dae. Countess.
Nigel, gaan aan met jou huiswerk.
Ja, Mrs. Winnie.
Jy man, Nigel.
Ekskuus, my kroon.
Nigel, hou op om my siel uit te trek.
Ja, Tannie, ja.
Hoe lank voor jou eindeksamen nog begin?
Nog 'n volle maand. Daar's nog baie tyd om te studeer.
'n Maand vlieg net so verby.
Relax, Tannie. Tannie stres te veel.
Relax, Tannie. Jy stres te veel. Jy, Nigel.
Nie Tannie, ek kan nie vir Tannie jy nie. Dis disrespectful.
Dis algemeen beskaafde Afrikaans. Education is the passport to the future. For tomorrow belongs to those who prepare for it today.
Winnie, die agterdeur staan waarwyd oop.
Almal se agterdeure staan oop. Dis Wellington.
Dis 2015. Veral na Lisbie so koelbloedig doodgesteek is. Hy uitvaag so lank.
Manie, geweld op geweld gaan nie die probleem oplos nie.
Maar die agterdeur kan nie opstaan nie. En dit bekommer my dat hy sleutels sommer net weggeraak het. Jy bring allerhande vreemde mense hier in ons huis. Jy moet versigtig wees.
Dalk moet ek iets oor Lisbie se moord skryf.
Gaan skryf wel.
Die moordenaar was ook een se kind.
jy wat eens by my dogter Martha lê. Hey Martha, moenie kom dink hierdie koen is doof nie. Vir jou kom staan vertel van ek was 'n hoerman nie.
Rebecca, Martha didn't say that.
When you spread your legs, you lie on your back, child, not on your ears. En ek was nie net 'n hoerman nie. Ek was 'n gedoopte. Dan wil ek eenstekens by jou weet, why are you strutting around all over town, mommy? Oor jy jouself en jy kind verloskoop. Oor jy wil wegkom van die sloot agter die kasteel waar jy verseld lê. Oor jy die dronk man en hulle se skelde nodig het. Oor jy slaap is. En oor jy en jou lewe, jou baas is.
Rebecca, you're no longer a slave.
Natuurlijk is ek nie meer 'n slaaf nie. En Martha ook nie. En dis oor ek doen wat ek doen. Dat sy vandag kan lees, dat sy kan skryf en dat sy kan dink.
You're a good mother, Rebecca.
Ja, dis hoekom my kind en haar kind moet vry mense wees. Hulle moet 'n huis hê om in te kan bly. En grond om hulle se vingers in te kan steek. En geleerdheid.
I hear you. Apollos.
Hey!
Apollos, you're back.
En jy? Dis op pad. Ek wil met jou aan ons maak.
Apollos,
Hey! Martha Solomons. Bly onder my dak, op my pa se grond. Martha Solomons deel my bed. Saam met my.
Apollos, jy het hom weer gedruk.
Moenie dat aan en haar gaan al met my nie. Jy is nie baas hier nie. Wat jy? Voete!
Apollos, please!
Hey!
Apollos, jy kan nie maak van my sê. Weet jy? Ek is nou 'n ma.
Hey!
Satan, val kom my.
Shit, my. Yes, me so. Los die. Kom. Jy bly onder my dak. Die een hand. Was die ander. Hou jou man. Hou jou man. Hou jou man. Bly stil. Hou jou man.
Moet ek die dokter laat roep?
My queen, my countess.
Dis ek het jou.
I want you to know, I used to be a lost sheep wandering far from the Lord, far from my father's house. But it's not the case anymore.
Ai, Eddie.
Arthur, you were a good wife. You were the hands of my Redeemer. Therefore, I know my Redeemer lives. Give these photographs to our son. Him moet wel vertel. The Lord is good despite man's limitations.
Eddie. Eddie.
Dit was 'n gewone middag, soos enige ander. Nigel kom by die huis aan Maar die dag is sy oom by. En van hier af is alles vaag. Ek kan nie onthou wie my hande en voete vasgebind het nie. Ek kan nie onthou wie se hande die tou om my nek geknoop het toe die laaste asem uit my gewrig is nie. Ek kan onthou dat ek gewonder het hoekom Nigel dan daar was. Maar dan weer, vir die klip vashou, is dit die kwessie nie. Die klip is. Wanneer ek môre doodgaan, vertel dan aan die bome hoe lief ek jou gehad het. Vertel dit aan die wind wat in die bome klim of deur die takke val, hoe lief ek jou gehad het. Vertel dit aan 'n kind wat jonk genoeg is om te begryp. Vertel dit aan 'n dier deur hom net aan te kyk. Vertel dit aan die huise van steen, vertel dit aan die stad hoe lief ek jou gehad het. Maar sê dit vir geen mens. Geen mens sal jou wil glo, geen mens sal jou kan glo. Dit is slegs maar 'n man, dit is slegs maar 'n vrou, dat een mens 'n ander so lief kan hê soos ek vir jou.
Aan Martha, met Ilse van Niekerk en Albert Maritz. Dankie aan Matthew en Roberts, Noel, Oostendorp, Noxolo, Bodlani en natuurlik Ilse van Niekerk. Terwyl ons stryk, kan ons stoele opkry vir Albert en Ilse. Albert, gaan jy nie voor in die kom nie?
Sorry, Albert.
Ilse is besonder dapper. Ek kom Albert, gelukkig. I'd like to know from the audience whether you understood the introduction. Did everybody understand the introduction? Okay, good. So, die deurwewing van die deurweef van stories, dit is ongelooflik ironies en hier is baie toeval in hierdie situasie. Maar dit laat mense maar net dink dat Suid-Afrika se gegewe net nou al, dit is nog altyd vreemder. As die waarheid is vreemder as fiksie. In hierdie geval, en ek weet, is eintlik 'n vraag wat mense na die toneelstuk vra, maar Albert en Ilse, ek sal graag wil weet wat het julle genoop om dit te skryf.
Ja, ek dink dit begin by Winnie se moord en ja, mens gevoel daai storie moet vertel word en dan ook as 'n mens meer 'n mens van haar boeke begin lees, hoe besef jy net dat soveel van wat sy geskryf het, voorspel eintlik van wat gaan gebeur. Jy kan dit nie glo nie. En dan die hele kwessie van geweldsmisdaad in Suid-Afrika en dat dit glad nie 'n eenvoudige kwessie is nie en van alle kante af beskou word.
Ek raak geweldig aangegryp deur stories soos jy, ek onthou die Koran storie wat ek gesien het toe Randall Wickham dood is. Ek praat nou so, ek voel ek sit voor jou. Dis ek reg, sit ek voor jou. En dit kan nie. En toe sy broer van Amerika gekom en sy broer sing by die begrafnis. En dit was sy broer in Winston. En dit is my ware storie, is wat saam met dokter Barnard gewerk het aan die hartprojek. sulke goed toe ek dit lees, toe kry ek net koue herinneringe, want dit is 'n ongelooflike storie en dat ek al die jare gehoor van die vrou wat in die Kaap was, die Black Countess. En ek het in 'n stadium ek dink ek het met Leanne gepraat in 'n boek by haar geleen en ek het nou my eie ingekoop. Die skrywer se naam ontgaan my vir die oomblik, maar hy sê gaan, ek dink ek wil iemand help my. Dit is 'n bietjie van 'n geskiedkundige weergawe van die Black Countess. En dan is die hoor die storie net so aangrypend. Ek was ook op 'n manier bietjie persoonlik betrokke by van die mense van Lisbie Smith voor haar man oorlede is en so voort. So dit lê my na in die hart. En toe dink ek ook, daar sit daar met so 'n storie in Ilse is baie slim. So is lekker om en baie bedrywe in teater, is lekker om so iemand te kon betrek. So is eintlik nou die hoofskrywer.
Maar mens hoor die woord interconnectedness deesdae baie, né? Dis 'n buzzwoord en almal praat oor connection en so aan. En hierdie is 'n ongelooflike feitelike voorbeeld daarvan. Dit is byna te veel om te hanteer. Ek onthou die oggend van Lisbie se dood ook. Op dieselfde dorp en dat dit vir Winnie so aangegryp het. En dat dit hulle almal so verwoes het en uiteindelik sou dieselfde met haar gebeur. En dan aan die Martha gegee het. Sy was besig om 'n boek te skryf, verstaan ek dit reg?
Ja, was sy die boeke 'n tyd van tevore geskryf, maar ja.
Sy het van tevore geskryf.
Ek is nou nie presies seker wat datum van die boek of dit
Ja,
oorgelees
ek is
met
ook nie
Lesbie se
seker.
moord in 2005, ek is nou 100% seker.
Sy het nog 'n reeksboek en dit is een van die wat is voltooi in verlede.
Ilse, voor die toneelstuk in jou inleiding het jy vir ons gesê wat die temas alles is. Raak dit nie moeilik om te dink dat ons as Suid-Afrikaners byna nie kan kies tussen al die temas nie. En wat hoop jy is die uiteinde van so 'n toneelstuk vir die gehoor? Hoe gaan ons uiteindelik die situasie skuif?
Ja, ek dink om die situasie te skuif het mense gesprek nodig. En die gesprek word teweeggebring wanneer 'n mens so iets sien of lees of navorsing doen daaroor, dan is die kwessies maar heeltyd in jou kop.
Dis ook maar klein begin, jy weet, wat kan hy anders doen, jy weet, as ek nie politieke mag nie, ek het nie, sy het nie, maar ons weet van die storie, so dit is maar 'n klein begin, net hier vandag het 'n paar mense wat was gehoor van die storie, as ons net iets daardie reg gekry het, dan iets meer gebeur as wat sonder dit so gebeur het.
Het enigiemand die politieke mag? Steek jy hande op. Is daar enige vrae oor die inhoud van die toneelstuk voordat ons by die tegniese deel kom?
Hallo julle, ek het 'n vraag wat nie iets te doen het met die uittreksel. Ons het dit gesien in hierdie uittreksel wat ons nou gesien het. Maar dit is iets wat aan my gekrap het, omdat dit nie, dit is nie 'n probleem nie, maar dit word nie vir my beantwoord in die volle teks nie, is dat, en correct me if I'm wrong, en ek kan nou nie al die name en so onthou nie, maar Martha word swanger van haar man, of boyfriend en oukie. Dan trek sy en haar ma Wellington toe, na Apollos huis, nee?
Ja.
Wat daai huis met Martha se man, Rebecca se man gebou het.
Ja, die Apollos se pa en Martha se pa het saam die huis gebou.
Okay, so hulle gaan terug. Vryheid is natuurlik 'n baie belangrike tema en beide Martha en Rebecca is baie hulle voel great about that. Hulle dis vir hulle baie belangrik. Dan trek hulle terug na 'n plek toe waar ek wonder, weet hulle daar gaan weer, hulle trek terug abuse toe. Basis. Al wat ek wil weet is, as hulle terugtrek, dis my eintlike vraag, as die twee vrouens terugtrek, wat dink hulle gaan hulle kry as hulle terugtrek in 'n huis, want watter mag het hulle, gaan Rebecca erf, gaan Martha erf, wat is die belofte, waartoe gaan hulle terug vir hulle ding, dis 'n beter plek om na toe terug te gaan as om in Oukiep te bly. Want hulle kry nie 'n deel van die huis aan die einde van die dag nie. Maak ek sin, ek is jammer, ek gaan haal dit nou weer uit my argiewe.
Ons het graag vir Ilse gesê, dit is 'n goeie antwoord, maar ek wil maar net sê, dit is die dilemma.
Okay.
Ja, op daardie stadium gaan Rebecca terug Kaap toe om nog verder op die strate te leef. Finansieel het dit nie goed genoeg gegaan in Oukiep nie. En Martha het swanger geraak by iemand nie Harry se kind nie, 'n ander man. En toe het Rebecca gevoel, Martha moet 'n dak oor haar kop hê. Sy kan nie net so in hierdie klein geheggie in Oukiep bly nie. As die kind kom, moet daar 'n huis wees. En dan sê sy, maar jou pa het saam met sy vriend hierdie huis gebou. Jy gaan soontoe, jy kan aanspraak maak daarop. En Martha bly dan alleen saam met Apollos daar later met haar kind ook. Maar dit is basies al wat sy het. En ja.
Okay, want ek het net gewonder hoekom sal hulle die klein bietjie vryheid in Oukiep opgee en dan teruggaan na waar dit gewaarborg is dat I mean, it's probably a rhetorical question, maar
in Oukiep het Martha ook al reeds saam met iemand gebly waar dit ook nie baie goed gegaan het nie.
Yes.
Ja, so en Harry het ook op die toneel gekom en ek dink met die baba se koms het hulle net gevoel hulle moet nou dak hê, maar dit is nie 'n veilige dak nie.
Maar as jy net weer teruggaan na die weergawe wat dan is daar net miskien 'n bietjie meer duidelikheid is oor what are the stakes, wat kan hulle verloor, wat kan hulle, dit was net vir my 'n bietjie onduidelik en toe wil ek uit Roman baie het wat daarna gekom het en dit was vir my sad want as jy dit kyk losstaande van wat ek nou gevra het, dit werk alles, maar as jy kyk die setup was vir my onduidelik, so as 'n mens net daai bietjie kan tweak, dan val al die ander goed lekker in plek waar so maar ek dink dit was great hoe jy die tydlyne go inside en verweef en so aan. Die hele pleinmens kon dit natuurlik nie nou so duidelik sien nie, want dit is net uittreksels, maar ek het baie gehou van hoe die tydlyne verweef was. So maar omdat dinge 'n bietjie deur mekaar raak, as jy die trek hou nie, net daai duidelik maak, dan voel ek dan val die ander lekker in plek.
Dankie vir die voorstel, ja.
Oor die saakie.
Ek was in 1996 het ek eers Afrikaans gedoen en Hoornie was in my klas. Dit was die heel wat ouer. So ek terugkom in die universiteit toe. En dit was ons verstomming, ons het 2 ouer persone in ons klas gehad. En dit was wonderlik om hulle te hê en hulle bietjie te leer ken. En ek het met haar kontak gehou na ons gestudeer het en sy het ek dink, sy het 'n bly geskryf oor Lisbie se dood.
Ja, dis korrek.
Iets soos 'n venstervol son of iets oor 'n son of 'n mens venstervol.
Die klein Libertas opgevoer deur Niekerk.
Yes, maar dit was by die woordfees gewees en ek het die teks van dit. En sy het ook 'n verwerking van Martha gedoen wat nooit opgevoer is nie as 'n drama en ek vermoed een van haar dogters het daai teks. Ek dink jy dat 'n ongelooflike ding hier weet. Ek is bekommerd dat die tonele te blitsie is, dat dit so vinnig is en so baie inligting dat daar nie emosionele belegging teenoor iemand kan wees nie. Ek wonder, dis net 'n voorstel, of 'n mens nie 'n Winnie, 'n Lisbie en 'n Martha langs mekaar moet sit en almal anders verlos. En kyk wat gebeur as jy daai 3 karakters met mekaar moet praat nie. Ek dink hierdie soort van ding kan werk as 'n film, maar as dit op 'n verhoog moet wees, gaan dit ek dink regtig dit gaan afleef aan die diepgang van die storie en enorme lewens wat hier gelei is, enorme ervarings. Niemand van hierdie karakters het of hulle dood of hulle lewe was grotesk. En ek dink daar's stroop alles totdat jy uitkom by kernkarakters. Ja, ek dink is eintlik 'n bly op die vroue en miskien is die fokus wat my betref veel op mans. Maar ek hou aan werk, hier is 'n groot storie hier.
Ja, dis 'n interessante
kan kyk wat daar op is.
Daar's nog 'n vraag. Is daar iemand wat verskil met Saartjie? Oor die styl? Dit is 'n interessante punt.
Hi, looking so close speaking. I would like to echo what Sarkit said. I'm not wanting to remove or alienate or disparage the other characters and their voices and what they add to the narrative specifically. However, when you are looking, in my opinion, specifically, purely opinion, in terms of historical kind of narratives whereby black femme bodies are displayed as well as presented as sort of represented as well as such an integral story. I was maybe wondering if you would, in addition to removing the other characters and leaving it as 3 femme bodies, if you would maybe take or look into as a suggestion as how you perform and vocalize and actualize those atrocities and those grotesque kind of subtleties that reside in the text so beautifully as well, rather than using a multiplicity of mediums for the stage play specifically. Maybe some of the violent sort of aggressive scenes, maybe as a form of shadow work with the performance. I don't know if you watched or are aware or if I make reference to the Uittreksel, the live art performance by Noel or Niqui or Bianca by Thomas and what Abrahamsism fire, whereby we don't specifically use words to indicate those atrocities, but we rather use sonicscapes, the body itself, the actual art of the body imbricating itself in the present and in those historical references that are so beautifully explicated in the text, as a way of allowing the story itself to iterate itself in the time space that it's in right now, and as a kind of beckoning and reckoning towards what the narrative wants to say through your dialect, of course. Everything needs sense, but quickly.
Thank you.
I hope I understand what you're saying, and I like what you're saying. I was often amazed by Toscan theatre, especially, whereby by gesture that seems totally abstract, rape, serious rape is depicted, and how it can be extremely touching for an audience to view that and experience that. There is a scene. It's not an art that I have mastered. I've tried it in theatre, but it didn't work out well. The way I attempted it to lead actors to do that. There is a scene in the play where we do work with silhouettes, and I prefer that by far. As opposed to what we saw here with the drunk man arriving. Although the drunk man arriving is, with more time, one will round that off so that it's more controlled. But it's important to have. It's important to show. I think the story here is interesting. Unfortunately, there's very funny pieces, we hope. But then there are pieces that has to be shown, otherwise it's not reaping the fruits that one would like to reap, I think. I hope I gave a proper comment on that. On Saki's comment, yeah, Saki, that's a fantastic idea. I think it's really a wonderful idea to have those 3. However, I do that as a separate thing. You know, it's another wonderful project. Whereas this project has gone places for us for a while, and you know, we welcome inside the project to have input. But I think stick with this one, and then it would be fantastic to develop the 3 characters in particular in detail, because it deserves that.
Cornelia? Well, sorry. No, we'll go and then Cornelia can go.
I think I would love to see the full play, beautifully written and beautifully performed as well. My question is an observation for me is that the issue of gender-based violence is something that we've been talking about for many years, and it needs to carry on being a conversation, which you are doing, and it's wonderful. What really interests me is how some of the plays these days, and I think of Laura Foote's Tapang, and something that was referred to in your play as well, is the looking at the perpetrator as also, I hesitate to say this, but a victim of a cycle that happens. And that for me seems to be where we are transitioning beyond the usual conversation, where we're going now into that. That's for me where the solutions are. And I want to know if you unpack that more in the full play, or if you're thinking of doing that.
Yes, we do that. There are a few scenes between Marnie and Winnie where they also touch on the subject, and yes, we definitely.
Also the behavior, there's the baby in the scene here. That's what this baby, there's the baby in the scene. It's a very important question that you asked, because it's something that one easily misses, where does all this come from? And the baby here. And then there's Nigel himself, and that scene that I referred to just now, with silhouette, is him seeing something on the street, which we hope an audience will understand. One have to look properly into where this violence comes from, because it has an origin.
Cornelia. Your company is streaming this session, so I think that.
It's always the men who say, I'll talk it out of mine. No, you can't. I actually wanted to say exactly what you said. That I think I agree with Sarki. There's a beautiful concept there, what she's saying. But I agree that we touch on these subjects, but the core for me of a play like this is, why are we such a violent society? I mean, South Africa it's the rape capital of the world. And when we talk about only the impact on females and not where does it come from and why we have such an institutionalized violence within our society, and it started with the previous play, with people coming in and saying, well, we bring a civilized society. That was an act of total violence, and it just carried on from there. And I think it is important in this play to ask, why do men commit these violent acts? Not to say that that is an excuse for anything, but how we're clearly not finding a solution by not asking that question. So I think the characters are quite important in this play, actually.
Yes, and there's nuance, because Harry is a drunk, but he's very loving.
Yes.
It's harmless.
Yeah.
So, the nuance perhaps then gets shown with a voorspellende play wat gebaseerd is in realisme.
I'm just. You said that this is a 60-minute play. So I don't think it is. Because it's so complex and there's so many layers, and especially the two storylines and if all these themes that are extremely important that plays into each other, and that's very, I think, extremely important to investigate, it becomes, I don't know, I think this is a 2-hour play. It's not, I don't think you could do it in 60 minutes. Can you?
I think the project Sarki is referring to, that's the 2-hour one, where where you have the kind of few guardian monologues and that kind of thing. This play is exactly, I think, what I tried to suggest earlier, to inspire people about a story that many people didn't know about, or that people forget about easily. A murder, how many hundreds of murders, kind of a day or something in our country. Next day we just carry on and we make jokes about it because it's the only way we see we can survive. So I agree with you, there are fantastic stories in these three characters. But this is a little play that makes people aware, and I think also what we guiding against all the time is not to lecture. We don't want to, it's a slice of life, it's a moment in time, it's essentially apart from each other. And we hope to move people in an audience by the fact that this has happened. And then people and their psyche can look to the future. You know, but I agree with you. There's much more in here. It's life. You know.
I thought you were silencing me. I just
I'm sorry, I don't want to impose an idea on you. Because I really want this to work, because it's important. But I'm worried that if you've, like you said, if you've got 16 minutes, you've got 24 characters, played by 4 or 5 actors, it's a lot to cover. So then maybe I must conclude then with, think very carefully about your medium and the bodies that you have to tell the story. And also think about other options. I think there's a film in here as well. If some of it will not translate better to a different medium, and get to the core of what the story is about and what the different character stories, what do they need to say? And maybe it's maybe you need the three men with them. Some form of dance.
Right, so some minds have been changed, we've worked together, this is what we like very much. I'm just an audience member, but I did read the script, and I was very worried when you gave your intro, Ilse. Like Uittreksel and everybody, I thought, how long are we going to sit here? And I thought it worked extremely well. But perhaps it's because I have already read the script, but I understand what you're saying, and just to add to what we saw this morning with post-COVID, I think it's extremely brave to remind us what happened quite recently, and we haven't yet grieved it, really. Thank you, everyone. Gaan ons dadelik aan? Nee, ja, ons raak dit uit. Okay, fabulous. We get to wish Mike van Graan a happy birthday. That's on the program now. Wrote the good what, no surprises there. And he's going to tell us a bit of going to give us an intro.
Yes, so first of all, thank you very much for the present of your presence, and thank you for this little showcase today. I really do appreciate it. So, The Good White is obviously a little bit of an ironic title, and it comes from the television series The Good Wife. Not that it has any reference other than that as a marketing ploy, people might recognize it. And it's a piece that is set in 2017 in the context of the Fees Must Fall campaign. And it basically features people who are at a university. The main character is Professor Simon Whitehead, who's the key character in the piece, and who has a history of anti-apartheid struggle, was in jail for his support for the ANC, was banned for about 5 years, and so but now he's a very senior official within the university, and so he's a bit of a lightning rod for a younger generation of students who are all born post-1994, don't have any institutional memory or any feeling for that particular time. And his wife and 3 daughters were basically, they experienced a housebreaking and they left and they now live in New Zealand. But at the time that happened, he was playing quite an important role within the university, and he felt that he needed to stay because of what was happening in the country as well, and he wanted to make some kind of contribution here. He now has a new lover, Dr. Angela Witten, and also works within the university, and one of his good friends is Dr. Emmanuel Korwato, who's a Zimbabwean. And there's the 4th character is Nolu Kakaza, who's the daughter of a domestic who was paralyzed in the housebreaking, but she's now kind of a senior leader in the Freedman's Fall campaign. So that's kind of the background to the characters. What you're going to see now is a 10-minute excerpt of a exist yet. The full script doesn't exist, that's because I haven't had a deadline yet. And yeah, we'll be able to maybe talk about it a bit more, and just to say thank you to Geoff Hyland who directed it, and to the fantastic cast that is assembled. Thank you.
Mike, are you sure it's going to be 60 minutes? Doesn't sound like it.
I don't think I said 60 minutes.
Great, thank you. Ready.
How's the counseling going?
3 more sessions to go.
Help him.
Our marriage is dead, I know.
So why are you doing this?
Rufaro believes in the resurrection.
What's in it for you?
Brownie points. I can say I tried.
It's a bit cynical.
I'm not academic, Simon.
But seriously.
But seriously, it was always going to be a waste of money.
I don't get it.
I'm doing it for her.
Even though you've left, emotionally.
I don't hate her, Simon.
By going to these sessions, you're giving her hope.
I was hoping that the professionals would tell her there's no hope.
Is there's someone else?
You already asked me that.
You didn't answer.
People fall in love, people fall out of love.
And people sometimes fall out of love when there are greener pastures.
We've grown apart, Simon. We have nothing to talk about. I'm bored. Is that enough?
I feel sorry for roofs.
I want the kind of thing you have with Angie.
So you're serious about this?
And the marriage.
Asking for a friend. As a friend.
I stayed in the marriage for 10 years more than I should have. Thinking about what's best for the kids. Feeling responsible, even guilty.
Guilty?
Yeah. To be honest, I can hear Angie's voice. Typical of you men. Leaving your partners when their child rearing is done. Dumping them on the scrap heap of loneliness.
Yeah. Sounds just like Angie.
Is that why she didn't have kids?
No, it's because I already had 3.
It's tough being a progressive man nowadays. It's easier for women to leave a guy.
Poor us.
Yeah, they are unwitting victims of patriarchy, I tell you.
Done.
Are you going in today?
university management and the deans are meeting to discuss the students' demands. And you?
The Black Caucus, Academic Caucus meeting is starting at 2.
Okay. Andrew mentioned it, yes.
Yeah. How long do you think the university will shut down?
It's difficult to say. There's a lot of pressure with the June exams coming up. I wouldn't be surprised if it reopens next week.
Okay. Where to this time?
Are you sure you want to do this?
You're asking as a friend.
I beat your ass the last 3 times.
Why privilege, you know?
For all the pain through all these years, I'm unmoved by your white tears. Our wretched hearts, our broken bones, our scarred minds, our aching groans. Monuments to white violence. Records of white silence. Selected holocausts you make right. Neglected genocides of those not white.
Thank you, darling. You make it so much better than I do.
I'm just so much more experienced.
How was your run?
Great.
Did you let Emmy win?
No, he won all on his own.
Shame, man, he's having a rough time.
It's all your fault.
I'm not the one labeling him as a sellout.
What are you talking about?
Some of the Black Caucus members think he's too close to university management position on the police coming onto campus.
Students holding members of hostage.
They were white staff members.
Oh, yeah. So then it's fine to make people live for their lives.
I shouldn't be having this conversation with you.
Of course. What happens in the Black Caucus stays in the Black Caucus. Maybe that's why Amy didn't mention it.
So what was my fault?
Well, I wouldn't be surprised if there's some Afrophobic shade being thrown towards Emmanuel, being Zimbabwean.
What happens in the Black Caucus?
Is that Black lives matter more than others?
Okay. I think this is a good point at which to change the subject.
Oh, you're working on your application.
You're not supposed to see that.
So come to bed, and I won't be tempted too long.
I thought you had to Zoom Rachel.
That's in 20 minutes. Oh.
So do you know who else is applying?
Angie, hi darling, that is not appropriate.
Being an associate professor would be good for me.
And I'm sure you'd make a very good associate professor.
But you can't tell me if I have a chance.
You have as good a chance as anyone.
Okay, bullshit, Simon. You know as well as I do that any Selo, Sandila, and Sequel would stand a better chance than Angela Witten.
Not really, darling. They would need to be Dr. Cello or Dr. Sipo at least.
And if they were Dr. Nornie or Dr. Nomsa or Dr. Nolwazi, they would stand an even better chance.
You're always this alliterative in the morning.
Okay, just don't give me that bullshit about my standing as good a chance as anyone. Okay, Sam, don't patronize me.
Okay, sorry, I'll just go off and talk to my daughter.
It's blacker than that cup. I mean, everyone talks Nico. We're all black, yay! But when it comes down to it, suddenly it's apartheid in reverse.
You would agree that because of our patriarchal history, women should be advanced over men, right?
If they're suitably qualified, absolutely.
And so our apartheid history, it would be correct that notwithstanding Biko's inclusive blackness that was appropriate during the struggle against apartheid, black Africans, by virtue of having borne the brunt of racial capitalism, should be favored over those who may be Indian or colored, to use apartheid speak.
Stop being so fucking logical. Just allow me to vent, okay? I fucking know all of that with my head, but be discriminated against because now all of a sudden I'm not black enough, then forgive me for being a little bit angry.
No. You're right. 4 years after you were born, be your sins too.
Fuck off! Walls displaying your heroics. Foundations of your statues, frames to your photographs. Erased, dumped, like refuse. So should I laugh or even smile? Make no mistake, I am hostile. And for as long as we both shall live, know this truth, I shall not forgive. Professor Whitehead.
Noel, hi. So good to see you. It's been a while. Please, have a seat. Can I get you something? Tea, coffee, water?
No, thank you.
You still have the same email address
Yes.
and phone?
Your old one. Yes.
I sent you messages.
It's been hectic.
I know. Congratulations on your being part of the Fees Must group.
We're all leaders.
I heard you doing poetry. I was at the back of the hall, not very comfortable poetry, but then the truth isn't always comfortable.
Well, that was for students.
I know. I wanted to hear for myself what students are thinking.
Well, if you...
Are you okay, Noel?
I'm fine.
How's your mother?
Actually, that's why I'm here. She sent me.
Is she okay?
They stole her wheelchair.
What? Now they're hijacking wheelchairs too?
They!
Whoever the hijackers are, Nolu, you said they stole her wheelchair.
I told her I would get her another one.
Where did it happen?
Outside the mall in the township.
Is she okay?
Well, they just dumped her there. Her bags, her keys, and left her.
Bastards.
Some people helped to get her home. The neighbors called me because I had a key.
And when was this?
4 days ago.
And you're only telling me now?
I don't know why
Nolu,
Like I said, I'll get another one.
from where?
I don't know, but I'll get one.
Another motorized one?
She doesn't need a motorized one. They'll just steal it again.
Nolu, that wheelchair made your mother's life a lot easier.
It'd be a lot easier if she didn't have to be in a wheelchair to begin with.
Nolu Tando, I understand that you're angry. We cannot undo the past, but we can make amends for what happened in the past. Your mom asked you to let me know that her motorized wheelchair has been stolen. I understand that you would rather sit out without my help. I'd like to be on the same page as you on this. Tell me how you'd like to proceed and how it's in your mother's best interests. I don't know, Andrew. I don't fucking know. One part of me feels like I've just had enough. Go ahead, fuckers. Cancel me. I don't fucking care. I'm too old. I'm too tired for this shit. Why fight? What difference will it make? No one listens anymore. Reason and logic don't fucking matter. We're an academic institution. For fuck's sake, an academic institution. But it's all about feelings, about emotions, about what or who gets the loudest applause. It's no fucking leadership. Just bloody surrender. A white flag to populism, a white flag to irrationality, a white flag to violent blackmail. These are the university's new symbols. Down with the colonial statues, up with the flags. And then there's the other part of me. The other part that stirs within me. The part that had to sit for 3 years in a fucking apartheid prison. Before that, detained for 8 months without trial. The part that says, fuck this. I'm not going to just roll over and take this bullshit. I'm going to take a stand and fucking do something. Then I think, Nelson Mandela spending 27 years in jail means fuck all to these spoiled little fuckers. If they can dismiss and hollow out Madiba's contribution, why should mine matter to these little tyrants? They have no institutional memory. All post-1994 brats who don't see the irony of their wanting to decolonize with their imported American bullshit theories, their manufactured bitterness. Well, fuck that! How do I feel? How do I feel? Haven't you fucking heard, Andrew? White men don't have feelings. We're just the punching bags for all the evils of the past and present. Slavery, colonization, apartheid, patriarchy, capitalism, corruption, drought, floods. Black lives matter. Well, of course they fucking do. But tell that to Zuma, you pathetic little cunts. Tell that to the black people responsible for the Marikana massacre. Tell that to the black ANC politicians who killed the life as Itamani patients. Tell that to the black people who murder 53 other black people every day in this country. Tell that to the fuckers running this country into the ground because of their incompetence and greed, so that black pain has no end in sight. Fuck, Andrew. I've become like the white people I despise. I sound like those defensive pricks who deny they are privileged. Fuck. That little rant felt good. So, thank you for relieving me of my white pain.
Thank you. That was The Good White by Mike van Graan. Mike, would you like to come to the front? Geoff, would you also join us, please? Mike, would you mind telling us a little bit, of course you're a very big marketer of plays and we all look very much forward to this, but would you mind telling me the end?
I don't know what the end is going to be at this point. Yeah, I don't think there's a point in the play where one of the characters says something about
there are basically 4 ways in which we as citizens of this country can respond to what is happening. We can ignore it and, stop reading the news, stop watching the news, and just getting on with our lives in parallel to what is happening and live very comfortable lives in that way. We can leave the country, go and live somewhere else. We can jump off the mountain and not live here anymore, commit suicide. We can move to a small town and live off the grid and, try to do something there, try to make a difference there. And in a way, those characters all have to make a decision about where they fit. If those are the 4 basic scenarios, they have to make a decision about where they locate themselves. At this point, I'm not sure with the Professor Simon Whitehead where he locates himself. What happens somewhere down the line is that Nobu comes to be abused by her male comrades within the struggle, against the struggle for feet to fall. And Simon Whitehead takes on a bit of a messiah thing and he tries to intervene on her behalf and suffers as a consequence. So that leads even further. So basically, I think in the piece, all of the characters go through some form of not catharsis, but transformation because of the experiences that they have. So he starts out as being this person who recognizes that because he has been privileged under apartheid, he needs to be a bit of a blow taker, and he recognizes that this is par for the course. But I think that as he becomes increasingly, in his view, unjustifiably blamed for things for which he doesn't feel is responsible, so his inner defensiveness sort of comes out all the time. And so, as he says in the piece when he's speaking to his shrink, who isn't a character in the play, but he becomes like the people that he despises because he hears himself through the conversations that he has heard around dinner tables before, and that he's kind of resented and argued with them, and now he's saying the same kinds of things, So yeah, I mean, I'm not particularly sure if he leaves the country or if he sticks around and fights. I'm not sure yet.
Do white men get redeemed in this play, Geoff? No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. Don't worry. You don't have to answer yet. No, I mean, obviously it's a very big theme.
Can we put up the audience slides? I just don't. There we go.
Oh, wow. It is a theme that we've been discussing, identity politics, for ages, and I think another thing that's new to me, and there are some academics in the audience. I've recently moved to Stellenbosch, and it's been quite disconcerting to say the least, because if you're not close to the universities, you don't actually understand how hoe ontdigterend dit kan wees nie. And what I found was also the little play on nepotism, on all of that. So there's sort of social commentary around that as well, with regards to universities becoming these micro spaces of politics that become so important to the press, etc. But what about the rest of the country? And within that, the sort of power plays. So in a sense, Simon Whitehead, as far as they all try to have integrity, and Angie, they're already playing with a little bit of nepotism and, Buddhist for Bianca's and all of that.
Well, look, I mean, I think in some ways, all of these things, as you know, what I try to do in the work that I try to do theatrically is to explore this dialectic between the macro and the micro, between the individual and the collective, between and because I think that we are shaped by the politics in which we live and the societies in which we engage, and we also in turn are able to shape and give shape to. So I look at it, this dialectic, as I say, and it's not a static thing, it's something that changes all the time, and there's also the personal, interpersonal dialectic and how that impacts on people and how they view things as well. So So universities are in some ways a microcosm of the struggles that are happening within society, although it might be amongst quite an elite bunch of people, both students and academics. Nevertheless, the struggles as they play out with regard to identity politics anyway, are kind of manifested, are a manifestation of what is happening in society more broadly. Except that, as Simon Whitehead says, and as I'm not sure which character is going to be saying this in the play eventually, but in a way, like, what happened to class analysis? A lot of the identity politics that plays itself out in the university, in terms of the majority of people in the country, that's not necessarily their primary experience. Their primary experience is one of poverty, of exclusion, on the basis of poverty. And that they are black comes to be a compounding factor, and one of the reasons historically for their experiencing poverty and them still experiencing poverty. But in a society that is now in real time, nearly 3 decades beyond 1994, in terms of the play, maybe about 5 years earlier, they would have experienced or expected something different, something better. That they are not experiencing that, is it on the basis of identity politics or is it on the basis of something else? And so those are some of the themes that the piece tries to pick up on. What are the themes that play themselves out at a university academic elitist ivory tower level versus what is it that there is the reality of the people who are actually experiencing a lack of fundamental transformation of their lives because of something else that is happening in our society.
Yes, and the parading of the elites, the reading of campaigns, how should we behave, etc. Geoff, your feelings on the play, how did it start for you? Did Mike come to you and give you the script or the idea? And how do you feel it? How do you feel about the theme?
I've always said Mike's very clever. He knows very well that I took the UCT drama department through these years. And so a friend of mine said to me, "Why are you doing this? You took early retirement from the university. Why are you going back into this stuff?" And I said, "Well, frankly, I think we have our art to work out things for ourselves." And so I implore, well, I don't know if it's going any further with me, but here we are. If one was going to work out things, this is theatres where you try to work out things and make sense. And what was for me probably one of the top 5 moments in my life in terms of really facing something significant.
Geoff, what was that as an academic? I use the word ontnuchtering, that's how I perceived it, but I mean, as an academic at UCT, what happened? Not in general, with you, the person.
I had to question my entire reason for being on earth and the joy that I had as a teacher. That's what I had to question. And go, did I do it right or not? It was your whole meaning of life for you. But I mean, probably that's the first time I've ever said it publicly. Because it's the very things that are coming out in the play. What's public, what's private, what's, those kinds of things.
And if the reaction is yet again, poor white man, get over yourself. I mean, do you think that's a stale reaction, or do you think it might be a reaction, or should we really be past it?
Well, the thing is, you can never anticipate what the reactions are going to be, and one can surmise that will be some of the reactions. But then there's also a question for me of, your question kind of takes me back to when I wrote Green and Flashing. And the women in that play, so those of you who don't know it, it's about this very senior black politician who was 6 weeks before the 1999 election, the second election, is alleged by his white personal assistant to have raped her. And if this comes out into the public domain, there'll be pretty major repercussions for the party and so on. So the party sends a delegation of 2 to these women to convince them not to go through with the charges. And at the end, because someone dies in the play, there's an inquest, and so she ends the play by saying, "Where shall I start?" in terms of the story that she tells. And why I'm telling you the story now is because at that time, that was 10 years after 1994, people were saying, oh, I'm so bored with a white woman victim, I mean, really. And you know, I think that for me, as a writer and as a person kind of writing about our contemporary society, in some ways it reflects something about what apartheid has done to our own humanity, when we also see people who happen to be struggling with very human things in terms of it's a white person doing it, so it doesn't matter to me. It's a white person who's been raped, so it doesn't matter, you know, or it's the same kind of dehumanization of black folk historically by apartheid. And I think that if we are really struggling for a society that is more humane, that is more just, then we need to be seeing each other as people, as human beings with very legitimate feelings. And so I don't mean to say that we, you know, should not look at human beings in the context of history, but nevertheless to look at each other as human beings, because I think that it's when we begin to see each other as people that maybe we can move forward as a society, as opposed to seeing each other as groups and as faceless kind of statistics, you know. I think it makes a difference to us when we begin to have relationships with other, because that then begins to make us, and that's I think what the beauty of theatre is, that helps people to see characters and people who think like they do, who believe like they do, who might have feelings like they do, and so be able to empathize and identify with them and their struggles, as opposed to simply wiping them off. And I hope that that's what a play like this would do.
Agreed. Questions from the audience, and I'll get the.
Thank you, Mike and Geoff, and players. I couldn't help to think about Green Man Flashing, and I think there's interesting similarities. I don't know if it's in structure, but also tonally. But Mike, I want to ask you, in terms of your political anger, did it shift? How do you formulate it differently compared to Green Man Flashing? Because there was definite moments of anger. But I'm interested in you and how you package anger as a writer now as a writer that's so politically involved with what's going on in the country.
Come and see my fellow South Africans at WordFest.
Don't worry, it's his birthday. He's allowed to do that.
But seriously, in a way, my fellow South Africans is a way of dealing with it as well. It's satire, and so it deals with these kinds of issues in a different way, and in a more cathartic kind of through humour, as opposed to this, which would be more kind of dramatic. And I suppose those are the two styles in which I write: satire on the one end, and then more kitchen sink drama, I suppose. And it's not ever one or the other, it's doing them in parallel, and I'm doing these plays at the same time. And they have different functions, you know. So I think that Green Man Flashing, I probably I'm a little bit more angry now than I was then, because you know it's like 20 years beyond Green Man Flashing, and we're in an even worse crisis now than we were then. So yeah, I mean, I think, and it's funny that you should ask that, because I'm thinking about a piece that I was at one point an artist in residence at UCT, and I was asked to give a public lecture as part of that. And the topic of my talk was, you know, people were asking about protest theatre, and I was asking, I think the title of my topic was, why is there not the theatre of outrage, you know, as opposed to the theatre of protest, which we had before? The theatre of outrage, because of just the expectations that we had in 1994, and how they have basically been completely thrown into the gutter, you know, as a consequence of greed and incompetence. and complete and utter arrogance. So I think that the anger is still very much there, and in a way, as you know, I've stepped down from all those other kinds of things I've been doing for the last while of advocacy and network building and policy, and going to be concentrating more on writing and being a theatre maker, and hopefully exploring other genres as well, and having that as channels for commentary and anger. But also hope, hopefully.
Thank you very much for this. So, I'm looking at a colleague and friend of mine, Cornelia. We work together at University of the Free State during Christmas for me, and somehow I find myself at the University of Stellenbosch now again. What I want to say is there's certain things that therapy can do, but it can't do what you're doing. So there's a release and an understanding and an explanation of and demonstration of complexity that you do. That really helps to heal and to feel heard, and you don't have to give answers. There doesn't need to be a synthesis, but by unpacking the complexities, it means the world. And what you mentioned about the continuation of the logic of dehumanization that comes from apartheid, right? And it's kind of the logic being pulled through to our current days to kind of unpack those complexities and ask, but why is it happening? Asking, looking at transformation at universities, and sure, things are shifting and for the better and for the good, but also it's what is transformation if the power dynamics are still very much in place. So just want to say thank you for that, and I mean, we still need to talk about this, and it really helps. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. And I think I really do believe that one of the things that theatre can do is exactly that, to put into the public domain the kinds of things that people feel anxious about, or they can do the Voldemort things, they can pronounce the words that we are not supposed to pronounce. We can put it onto a public stage, and as a result, people feel a sense of release. And I think that increasingly what I'm trying to get to do with the theatre that I do and with my fellow South Africans, that I'm open to kind of run until the elections next year, because I think it's a piece that needs to provoke discussion and debate around the way in which people will vote next year, because I really think it's going to be a watershed kind of election, and I think it should be a watershed election in terms of where our country goes. So I try to, and increasingly what I'm trying to do is not theatre in the traditional way that we pay money, come and see a theatre piece and off we go, but actually to use theatre as a way of provoking discussion, to have the discussions afterwards. So we take something like my fellow South Africans into people's homes, we perform it there, and then we have a discussion afterwards, and other places where we do it as well, precisely because theatre can do the kinds of things that open up the debates in ways that are complex, and ways that are not only intellectual but move people, their hearts as well. And I think that that's what is so important in the work that we do. And I think that that's what our society needs right now.
Ingrid? Is there a mic? Oh, Dave, sorry, please.
Hello, fantastic work, absolutely amazing. I just wanted to find out from you, since it's not completed, you're still going to be continuing further with the work, will you be keeping the binge-worthy kind of stylistic choices that you've made? So you made reference to The Good Wife, and so as we were watching that 10-minute reel that I just saw, is that it was giving a lot of these like political docu-series and kind of like that kind of stylistic writing and performance as well, because it's very disrespectful and cheeky, true, honest, and concise as well, which is truly what South African work in this kind of contemporary, with the context and the cast that you're working with, truly needs. And I'm just wondering if you'll be continuing further with that.
Yeah, the style will probably, that's sort of like become, since Green and Flashing, a signature style that, it will be multi-scenes, it will be one scene kind of flowing to the next in different kind of time zones. It's since Green and Flashing really that's a style that I've developed or adopted. It's called the messy style. And it's more filmic, I suppose, than the traditional kind of theatre, beginning, middle, and end. And so things, it's also up to the director as to how that text can be deconstructed in a way that makes sense for the director to give it more emphasis in the way that the director might choose, the scene that you saw at the end does not come chronologically in terms of, the first couple of scenes that you saw were generally towards the beginning of the play. The one at the end comes more about 3/4 into the play, as it were. But that is going to be the style, yeah. I'm not sure, Geoff, if you had any comments about style. No, okay.
I'm a bit terrified to even voice this, but to what extent can one still hear when the minute you start, one slots the character in? This is the white struggle person. This is the angry young black woman. This is the friendship between black and white. This is the colored mistress. It feels to me as if one needs a new approach, something that I can only think of the Afrikaans word kufut, to go deeper, and because I don't know if one can still hear. I think we need an approach like evolutionary biology or something radical. I can't judge because the satire, I haven't seen your satire, which is the other end of the spectrum. And I feel very uncertain about voicing this, but I'm just wondering.
That's a good wonder, and it's something which I wonder about as well. But I think again, it's because of how we as South Africans have been shaped by our past that we also look at things only in terms of these kinds of the way that we've been socialized. So part of the challenge us as writers and theatre makers is in a way to understand that and then to subvert it. So what we've seen is a 10-minute kind of extract, and of course people are going to see these folk as representative of particular paradigms or groupings of people, and it's in the way that they play themselves out ultimately that you're either going to reinforce that or you're going to make people think differently. And I suppose, I wrote a play called When Swallows Cry, because he took part in it. And it was about these, basically African mobility in the world today. It was a commission from a Norwegian theatre company. And I had these two Norwegian dramaturgs who worked with me, and I wanted to make it into a trilogy. And they said, why not just one play? 2 Africans and 1 Canadian, and that's your play, sort of thing. And it's precisely because we live in a world where the one white character would be seen as being representative of all white people, and the black characters are representative of all black characters. So by having a trilogy and showing that in each of those different pieces, the power relations are completely different. So in one, the Canadian is active. In another, he is, anyway, you get the point. And then, I've done other pieces where, because of the way in which the characters were kind of done and the way in which the themes were explored, people came out of there. For example, Brothers in Blood, which was about Jews and Muslims and Christians and the tensions within Cape Town at the time when Pugger was very active. And I remember, a rabbi coming to me afterwards and saying, that was really moving. And a young Muslim mother coming to me and saying, I've never had Jewish people in my home before, because they kind of dealt to some extent with that. And it was so interesting for me that that's what those folk came away with, because they were seeing on stage characters that they hadn't encountered in their everyday lives before. So part of our task as writers and theatre makers, I believe, is not to reinforce people's perceptions of this is how they are, because that's how they think they are, but within the context of the plays that we do, to present them as being more wholly rounded, more like them in the audience, as opposed to them as representative of groupings. And I'm not sure if I'm making sense, but anyway, that's one of the things that I struggle with as well, is how to subvert that South African consciousness of this person is representative of all that particular grouping, and to do it in a much more complex way.
Geoff, thank you, Mike and Ingrid. I think it's a very good question, because we discussed it last night a little bit. Was what I find from Teksmark is that this year there's a lot of different styles and themes, and it seems that if everything's going to be very good, that you can choose what to go and see, and you become a groupie or whatever. So there are different audiences, etc. And then this is just after what Ingrid asked Mike as well. And there are different styles now and themes, which I find quite refreshing. But with regards to the university, when I started, to me, the world in a university is very foreign. So it is something that I would see for the first time, or I would hear from it through friends about, and then see it here and see it get iterated. And although there are stereotypes or archetypes in that, or stereotypes, South African stereotypes, it seems like it is quite a realistic depiction of what happened in the past 5 years, etc. So would you say that universities and elitism that we see here still has a place? More than ever, we are hearing that it should be more pragmatic. South Africa has worse news, like Mike also said, people are poor, etc. What about the universities? How do you feel about that now that you're retired and you're still dabbling in those politics, Geoff?
Sure. Something that I said from when I started working in universities was universities seem to be about 3 or 4 years ahead of the curve of what is coming. So when the fees must fall, roads must fall, fees must fall happened, I said to my friends who were completely battling to understand, I said, hold on, it's coming. And it's going to be big. And I think those very things, it kind of looks in the university, and then 3 or 5 years, it becomes a bigger thing. And I think those things are becoming more and more relevant, more and more felt by a wider population. Are we dead? God. I don't know that I can answer it better than that. It is a rarefied community, if you want. It isn't completely. Yes, they're connections, they're not connections. But if you think what the students who went through, they did that play. Do you remember what it was? Which one? The Fall. The students came out, did The Fall, and they were very involved in that. That touched people sort of all around the world and gave an insight into a very different aspect of the people. And I'm hoping that for me, when there's a play in the 5 of us sitting around the table the last few days, where our conversations just went, no, Mike's not quite right. But maybe do you understand that there's a play about putting on this play almost, which is really, really interesting. We are very kind of conversations within conversation. Sorry, I went around. I don't think I've answered your question.
No, that's why my question was very around. So don't worry. And I think the big thing in South Africa is there'll always be friction between academia and what is pragmatic and who's got food on the table, etc. Cornelia, can you ask the last question and then we'll break?
I don't have a question per se. I actually want to comment on what you just said, Gabaz. As Liesel said, we worked together at the University of the Free State, and we were in student affairs during Fees Must Fall. And now I teach at the University of Stellenbosch as well. And part of what I experienced as the core of that period was conflict between black and white students. And white students coming to university with the idea that this is going to be a good time, and that whole sort of inheritance of their mother or their father, they went to the same residence, and then they want university to be a fun experience. Oftentimes, especially at the University of the Free State, which is a very poor province, a lot of the students go there without access to funding. And the access to university has a sense of this is my access into the world, into life, and this is going to be a better world for me and my family. And there was a very big conflict between those two expectations of what a university should represent. And oftentimes, white colleagues bought into what the white students thought university should be, and black colleagues bought into what the black students thought it should be. And I think this is a fantastic play, Mike. I think it's very important because I don't think those two counterpoints have really shifted at universities, and at Stellenbosch, definitely not. Students are still, the protests that flame up shows that we come from different points about universities are key points for the country. And we always, we treat it like this is a passage into adulthood. But it's more, it shapes how people think about the world, and especially South Africans. It's really critical, and I don't think that conflict has been resolved. So even though this is about Fees Must Fall, I think it's really extremely relevant still for the university environment. And maybe there is a question in here, Mike. Being a white female at university has a different texture to being a white male at university. And I was wondering if maybe you would consider making the main character female, because I think it does give you a little bit more access to these different parts that existed during a protest, etc. So, because I was wondering, the male character for me was, it was interesting, but I was wondering if you would consider that. Maybe that would change.
You won't be able to do that.
I don't mean to take away your role, but there is textually there is a difference.
Jeff also wants to comment.
Yeah, I was just going to say maybe I'll start you to write that play with 3 women characters. No, but just kidding. I mean, the thing is also that obviously, one can write a play with a whole different range of characters in it, and I've chosen this particular selection because although it's not really about the university, that's the backdrop.
Exactly.
As is Fees Must Fall, that's the backdrop. Because what the play deals with are all the other kinds of issues that you've mentioned and that Liesel has mentioned as well. It's about struggles around power. It's about expectations. It's about how people view themselves. It's about how people have hope. And it's all of those things playing themselves out in this particular context. And this is just providing a space in which these themes are kind of contested and explored. And I think that to go back to Gabos's very first point about the white male trope, it is something that we kind of avoid. I'm not a white male, so it's something which for me I find fascinating and interesting. Some of my best friends are white males. So the point is that it gives me a kind of something to play with, something to think about and explore in relation to a whole range of other characters as well. So in a way, I almost feel like I can take on that theme by not being that person, if you know what I mean. So anyway.
But you are propagating that it doesn't matter anymore. So we'll have that discussion next time.
I'm not propagating that it doesn't matter. I'm propagating that we need to think about it in a different way. It does matter, but we need to see it in a different way as opposed to the knee-jerk way in which white men don't matter anymore.
No, I completely agree with you.
I was going to say something, but now I'm not going to say anything because there's always that last word, and that's the one thing I did learn. There's no back, it's just, I understand.
Geoff,
and that's
with regards to the climate in the room, please have the last word.
No, that's sort of what I was going to say. I understand. That's all you have to say. Or I hear you, and I understand what your point is.
As long as you're not passive aggressive.
No, absolutely. No defense. It's open yourself and yeah.
Okay, good.
That's all.
Can I just say that Geoff and I did higher diploma in education together many moons ago, 1981. And this is our history. And he comes from Bloemfontein as well. Just to get that back.
There you go.
I just want to hear from the organizers. Are we carrying on or are we having a break? It's lunch. We're having lunch with Mike because it's his birthday, not because he's not a white male.